Chapter 1857. Monarchy received the bow and arrow from Shao Chun. Then he said indifferently, "Increase the gravity to 40-fold. Hua." His casual words immediately caused everyone to exclaim in shock and suck in a cold breath. Long Hua was slightly surprised. He had practiced archery for many years and naturally knew the difference between 40 times gravity and 20 times gravity. The difference between the two was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was far more than just double. 20 times the gravity was already exaggerated enough, and it was the strict requirement of the Marquis' residence. The other clans and powers generally only had 10 times the gravity for their basic training. If Long Hua's archery skills were placed anywhere else, he would receive unanimous praise. However, Monarch Yu's actions were truly terrifying, especially for such an expert. Archers who knew the difference between 20 times gravity and 40 times gravity would be even more shocked. Even some of the generals who followed the soaring dragon Marquis on the high platform felt slightly startled. They said softly, "Lord Marquis, if Monarch, you can hit the 10th ring with this arrow, his archery skills will rank within the top 10 in our army. Most importantly, he is still so young. It is indeed terrifying. You are a relative of the emperor and enjoy a hereditary title of nobility. To be able to not be arrogant or rash, and to be able to settle down and cultivate, that's the rarest thing." Monarch Yu's performance won praise from the Marquis' residence's upper echelon. Lan Luo, who sat beside Long Yin on the high platform, looked over with some dissatisfaction. Shao Chun felt that this Monarch Yu seemed to be purposely making life difficult for Shao Chun. When he saw Shao Chun shooting arrows, he purposely wanted to outdo him. "Luo, what do you think of Monarch Yu?" The soaring dragon Marquis did not reply to his subordinate. Instead, he turned his head and spoke to Lan Luo, a doting look in his eyes. After a moment of silence, Lan Luo replied simply, "There is nothing to say about his strength and talent. What does father think?" The soaring dragon Marquis smiled faintly, but did not say much. "Just keep watching. The show has just begun." Long Yin pondered over his father's words in his heart. He was somewhat unable to grasp and did not quite understand. Monarch Yu drew his bow on the drill ground, holding his breath and focusing. "Let go." The arrow was invisible, and under 40 times the gravity, it hit the bullseye that was 10,000 meters away. Wong, the tail of the arrow, trembled. Monarch Yu successfully made his debut, stunning the entire place. Under 40-fold gravity, late-stage, star venerate experts would find it hard to bring out their advantage in speed. Even holy venerates would inevitably be affected, unable to bring out their full strength. However, even so, Monarch Yu used the ordinary goose dragon bow to firmly hit the bullseye 10 kilometers away. Monarch Yu handed the bow to Shao Chun. Then he smiled softly and said, "Brother Shao Chun, are you interested in competing? For Brother Shao to obtain the hidden spirit temple's favor, you must have something extraordinary about you." "Yes, one round, one round." At this moment, Monarch Yu had just received cheers from everyone. Many Long clan disciples immediately seconded his suggestion. During the family banquet, the Long clan disciples had already been hostile to Shao Chun. Now, Monarch Yu was willing to stand up for them. Being able to improve further and see Monarch Yu's strength was indeed a good thing. "What's wrong? Are you scared?" Longbow seized the opportunity to mock Shao Chun wantonly. "Xiao, xiao, xiao." Instantly, countless gazes in the drill ground landed on Shao Chun. Some of these gazes were filled with disdain, some with mockery, and some with cold smiles. This made one feel unbearably lonely. Monarch Yu had already succeeded in isolating Shao Chun in the Marquis' residence. Unfortunately, Shao Chun's mental fortitude was far beyond what this group of people could imagine. He said indifferently, "It is not impossible to compete with me. How much do you have to bet?" "Bet?" Monarch Yu rejoiced in his heart. A brilliant light flashed in his eyes as he said, "If I lose, I will agree to any one of your requests." "Deal." Shao Chun had his own plans. After thinking for a while, he chose to agree. Seeing Shao Chun agree, Monarch Yu could not help laughing maniacally in his heart. I finally got this opportunity to make you agree. What do you want to compete in? Just say it. As long as you can win in any one of them, it will be considered my loss. However, if you lose, you have to agree to one of my requests. Monarch Yu exuded strong confidence as he exuded the might of a ruler. The formless dragon luck covering Monarch Yu's head spread out together with this dragon might. The tyrannical might of a ruler immediately turned ancient, distant, and noble. It was like an epic, shocking everyone. It was like in that instant, everyone felt like they were not facing Monarch Yu alone, but an insignificant corner of the ancient dynasty. The aura that Monarch Yu gave off was incredibly horrifying. The sudden appearance of the dynasties might force the people near Monarch Yu to move back, not daring to look at him directly. The might of the dynasty. In the end, Monarch Yu is the son of a duke, possessing the royal clan's bloodline. When he gets serious, he looks completely different. Many people felt extremely shocked in their hearts. Now, they looked at Monarch Yu with some respect. As Xiao Chan observed in secret, he deeply felt the vastness and ancientness of a dynasty. This Monarch Yu had used less than a 10,000th of it, and he already had such a terrifying deterrence. The accumulations of a dynasty were indeed horrifying. At the same time, Xiao Chan thought to himself, this Monarch Yu is overly serious. Could it be that everything he did was to trample on me before everyone? In what way did I provoke the other party to be so wary? With this thought, Xiao Chen's expression turned grave, and he could not help getting serious. If this Monarch Yu wanted to use Xiao Chen as a stepping stone for himself like the others, then he would have found the wrong person. In that case, he would have found the wrong person. Xiao Chen's expression turned slightly cold as he said indifferently, I think that Monarch Yu's archery skills are pretty good. Let's compete in archery. Let's see whose archery skills are better. This person really overestimates himself. Monarch Yu showed off a little earlier. Even under 40-fold gravity, he could still easily hit the bullseye. Clearly, he was holding back, yet he took the initiative to compete with Monarch Yu. Did Donkey kick him in the head? He is really stupid. Ha! All sorts of disdainful voices could be heard. Many of the Long family's disciples and the Marquis Mansion's guards looked at Xiao Chen. They all felt that there was something wrong with Xiao Chen's mind. Xiao Chen had already casually mentioned Monarch Yu's strong suit. Competing with me in archery? Monarch Yu was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled and said, as you wish. Men, increase the gravity tenfold. Boom! In the shooting range, the gravity reached a frightening 50 times, and the space around them began to distort. Under such circumstances, it would undoubtedly be even more difficult to hit the bullseye. What was even more difficult was that the slightly distorted space. If the arrow wanted to pass through it, it would have to hit the bullseye. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven. What a great Monarch Yu. If he can still hit the bullseye under 50-fold gravity, his talent in archery is truly terrifying. Monarch Yu's actions startled everyone. Under 50-fold gravity, even a holy venerate would find it hard to escape easily. If he could hit the bullseye in this situation. In other words, Monarch Yu possessed the strength to kill a holy venerate. Monarch Yu held up the goose dragon bow and shouted. Then, he drew the bowstring, and the dynasty's might soared continuously. Boom! The dynasty's might eventually turned into a golden dragon chi and soared into the sky. In an instant, all the clouds in the sky were swept away. The clouds no longer existed, and a sky full of stars suddenly appeared in this bright and clear world. When one looked up, one could see a sky full of stars. Using the dynasty's might to support himself, Monarch Yu cleared away the clouds in the sky. This resulted in a mysterious phenomenon of flipping day and night. Countless stars flickered in the clear sky. The sky full of stars looked exceptionally bright from the central great realm. What is the center? I am the center of the universe. The great thousand realms originate from me. The boundless astral regions all revolve around me. At this moment, Monarch Yu on the drill ground gave off a light that said, I'm the only one in the vast sea of people. Everyone regards me as the center. Whoosh! Monarch Yu suddenly let go, and the stars in the sky gave off a bright light. Boundless starlight descended and drifted down. The arrow that Monarch shot out was like a rainbow piercing the sun, turning into a resplendent beam of light. The arrow swept everything in its path, undefeatable. The twisted space did not affect it at all. Boom! In the next instant, a deafening sound rang out. The target made of precious divine materials was shattered. The target made of precious divine materials shattered without any suspense. The entire drill ground trembled slightly under the aftermath of this arrow. Many of the weaker cultivators were horrified by the remnant might. Monarch Yu's entire body shone with resplendent light, looking like a sovereign. His long hair fluttered, and starlight surrounded him. Monarch Yu smiled coldly and tossed the goose dragon bow rudely at Xiao Chun. Then he said coldly, "How are you going to compete with me in archery? I want to see how you could defeat me." Whoosh! Xiao Chun caught the bow. The force contained and it shook the surroundings and kicked up a strong wind. Everyone felt Monarch Yu's rage and disdain. At this moment, Monarch Yu's aura reached its peak since he entered the Marquis's residence. Clearly, it was Monarch Yu who was being rude. However, everyone felt that Xiao Chun should not have provoked him. Monarch Yu's archery skills were already very strong. Yet, he purposely challenged this. He was simply seeking death. "How can I defeat you?" Xiao Chun smiled coldly in his heart. Naturally, he already had a plan on how to win. Chapter 1858. Since Xiao Chun was the one who suggested archery, he naturally had absolute confidence in defeating his opponent. The light from Monarch Yu's body slowly faded, and the clouds in the sky slowly gathered. The scene of the blazing sun shining together with the stars disappeared. Everyone stared at Xiao Chun, who had retrieved the goose dragon bow. They wanted to see how capable he was to defeat Monarch Yu. Of course, aside from Lan Luo and the soaring dragon Marquis, no one else in the drill ground felt that Xiao Chun could win. Even Long Yin, who thought highly of Xiao Chun, shook his head in his heart. Xiao Chun was of the royal bloodline, the son of a Grand Duke. The moment he made a move, he would receive the protection of the dragon's luck. Furthermore, he could enjoy the resources of the royal clan. Monarch Yu's conditions and starting line were truly enviable. Even though Long Yin was the eldest son of the soaring dragon Marquis, he could only be envious and could not compare. More importantly, the arrow that Monarch Yu shot was indeed startling, inspiring lingering fear in everyone. Even a regular holy venerate would not dare to take this arrow lightly. Long Yin, who knew why Monarch Yu wanted to trample on Xiao Chun, could not help worrying for him. "What's wrong? Do you not dare to? Or are you too ashamed to make a move?" Joy flashed in Long Bo's heart. When he thought about how Xiao Chun would embarrass himself in front of everyone, he could not help mocking him. Haha, if you really can't do it, just admit defeat. Losing to Monarch Yu is not embarrassing. After all, he is a relative of the royal clan. A country bumpkin like you cannot compare to him. That's right. To think that he really dares to compete with Monarch Yu. If it were me, I would just admit defeat. Given Monarch Yu's demeanor, he would not make things difficult for him. Just admit defeat. Admit defeat. Admit defeat. Admit defeat. Admit defeat. Suddenly, cheers rang out in the drill ground. Most of the Long Clan disciples had already been subdued by Monarch Yu's demeanor. Now that they saw Monarch Yu's stunning display, they already felt great admiration for him. Furthermore, Monarch Yu left a good impression on everyone. Nearly everyone stood on Monarch Yu's side, smiling as they told Xiao Chun to admit defeat. The voices of people surrendering rose and fell like waves in the sea. If it was an ordinary person, under such intentional isolation, a flaw would have appeared in their mental state a long time ago, and it would be difficult for them to maintain their calm. However, Xiao Chun was very intelligent. Furthermore, he had seen through Monarch Yu's tricks long ago. In the end, the person he would trample on would be himself. Naturally, there was no change in his expression. He said softly, "If there is really an undefeatable enemy, it is not a big deal to admit defeat and admit one's inadequacies." When Monarch Yu heard that, he smiled faintly. Then, he said in a gentlemanly manner, "Brother Shao is rather tactful. Since you already admit defeat, then the bet is voided. Just do something small for me. Are you deaf or are you out of your mind? My big brother is laughing at you for overestimating yourself. It's far from enough to make him admit defeat. You can't even tell this? You really have a low IQ. What kind of bullsh asterisk T royal prince are you?" He. The little monk, who was lying on Xiao Chen's shoulder, rolled his eyes and said with disdain. Monarch Yu's harsh words, coupled with the little monk's mischievous face, angered him somewhat. This was especially so when Monarch Yu said he at the end. He nearly lost control of his demeanor. Just as Monarch Yu was about to say something, he suddenly heard a crisp sound. An arrow silently pierced through the distorted space and struck the bullseye 10 kilometers away. Compared to Monarch Yu's arrow, which had a huge momentum and vast monarch might, the one that could reverse day and night, the arrow shook the world. Xiao Chen's arrow appeared rather ordinary. He drew the bowstring, released it, and the arrow flew out, hitting the bullseye. It was like the distorted space in front of him and the 50-fold gravity were just decorations. How can this be? The group of Long Clan disciples was stunned. Someone shouted in disbelief. The gravity field is definitely not turned on. I won't give it a try. Right, you must give it a try. No one could accept such a result. They all made a move, drawing their bows and shooting arrows. In the end, the arrows that they shot either landed in the distorted space or went off to some other place. Not to mention hitting the bullseye, none of them could hit the target. The cruel truth stunned the group of Long Clan disciples. Their faces revealed even more incredulous expressions. How could an outsider be so much stronger than them? This was simply unacceptable. They could accept and understand that Monarch Yu was stronger than them. Monarch Yu was a relative of the royal family, the son of a duke, blessed by the luck of the dragon. It was natural for Monarch Yu to be stronger than them. However, what did Xiao Chen have? He had nothing. Compared to them, he was completely worthless. However, this worthless person managed to hit the bullseye, something that they could not even touch. It's useless. It's useless. Monarch Yu's arrow shook the world, shaking the surroundings and reversing day and night. How can your arrow compare to it? So you still lost. That's right. That's right. You still lost. Your arrow is far from comparable to Monarch Yu's. That's right. Monarch Yu's arrow was so startling. How can you compare to it? The Long Clan disciples who felt somewhat unbalanced all spoke up, bringing up Monarch Yu to suppress Xiao Chen. They refused to admit that Xiao Chen's archery skills were better than Monarch Yu's. Only the expressions of the Marquis's residence's upper echelon on the tall platform changed slightly. The might of Xiao Chen's arrow was indeed not comparable to Monarch Yu's arrow. In fact, it was a far cry from it. Monarch Yu's arrow had used the dynasty's might. It could already threaten a holy venerate, even severely injuring one. However, experts had their own judgment. In terms of practicality, Xiao Chen's arrow far surpassed Monarch Yu's. Xiao Chen's arrow was astonishingly fast, no different from how he normally shot. As for Monarch Yu's arrow, while it looked startling, in reality, it was storing up power. Although it could threaten a holy venerate, it was impossible for a holy venerate to get hit in a real fight. Unless a holy venerate was held back, it was practically impossible for a holy venerate to get hit. If it were Xiao Chen, the scene that appeared in their minds was Xiao Chen using his movement technique to flash in the air, continuously shooting arrows. On the other hand, the sky full of arrows was more likely to injure a holy venerate. If such an archery team could be created in the army, they would be able to eliminate the threat at the borders. They could be said to be unrivaled. Lord Marquis, the generals behind, all felt incredibly excited, calling out involuntarily. Naturally, the soaring dragon Marquis knew what they meant. He waved his hand indifferently to stop them from speaking. While the experts knew the ropes, the Long Clan disciples and the Marquis's residence's generals were not convinced. In any case, Xiao Chen's arrow was ordinary and not comparable to Monarch Yu's. You lost. You can't do it. You are just trash. A bunch of fools. Why are you shouting so loudly? If you are that capable, then go ahead and try. If that monarch or whatever is not convinced, he can come up and try as well. See if he can be like my big brother, calm and unruffled. The little monk was a straightforward person. He focused on defending Xiao Chun, loudly rebuking those people. I'm not convinced. I'm not going up. What can you do to me, little brat? Since no one could do it earlier, naturally, no one could do it now. They would not really go up. However, relying on their numbers, they were not convinced and started mocking the little monk. Dang! What answered them was Xiao Chen's second arrow. Xiao Chun circulated the heavenly heart art, and the heart flame at his fingertip merged with the arrow. This arrow pierced through the tail of the previous arrow and struck the bull's eye again. Boom! However, because Xiao Chun increased the heart flame, the might of this arrow was significantly higher than the previous one. The loud noise was deafening, instantly suppressing the noise of the Long family disciples. Boom! The third arrow flew out. This time, Xiao Chun increased the heart flame by another 10%. When the arrow struck the bull's eye, the resulting tremor was even more terrifying. It was like a clap of thunder resounding in all directions, shaking the entire drill ground intensely. What was even more terrifying was that Xiao Chen's control of the heart flame had reached a very ingenious level. Xiao Chun did not shatter the target. Instead, he sent the energy of the heart flame through the target. The fourth arrow, the fifth arrow, the sixth arrow, the energy of the heart flame that Xiao Chun sent out increased in intensity each time. The resulting sound waves were increasingly terrifying. When the seventh arrow flew out, the terrifying sound waves spread out. Even the buildings in the Marquis's residence shook intensely. Many of the beams were directly blown away. As for the Long clan disciples on the drill ground, although they did their best to block, they still could not endure it. The shock waves caused them to vomit blood and roll around endlessly. They covered their ears and wailed in pain. After the seventh arrow flew out, no one dared to say that they were not convinced anymore. Only horror appeared on their faces as they looked at Xiao Chun. They felt angry, but did not dare to say anything. They were both afraid and fearful. At this moment, it was already clear whose archery skills were superior. What if someone was not convinced? Xiao Chun used the simplest and most direct method to respond to those who were not convinced, who still dared to say that they were not convinced. Monarch Yu, who had been silent all this while, appeared ashen. Then he said, "Bring my white feather bow." "Yes, young master." Soon, a subordinate brought a treasure bow that was as smooth as white jade and placed it in Monarch Yu's hand. A peak-inherited Dao tool. For a moment, the faces of the Long family disciples changed. Although the bet did not stipulate what bow to use. Although there were no rules on what bow to use in the bet, Monarch Yu's actions were clearly inappropriate, even somewhat shameless. However, due to Monarch Yu's status, no one said anything. With the peak-inherited Dao tool, the white feather bow in hand, Monarch Yu drew the bowstring and fired an arrow at the sky. Boom! In the distant sky, a ferocious beast flying in the clouds instantly exploded, turning into a clump of blood mist. That clump of blood mist looked exceptionally eye-catching in the clear sky. Whoosh! 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 Monarch Yu's figure turned illusory as he fired 6 arrows in a row. Each arrow killed a late-stage star, venerate ferocious beast from a great distance. Taking the lives of ferocious beasts from 5,000 kilometers away, such a terrifying scene deeply shocked everyone. Whoosh! Monarch Yu fired his startling 7th arrow, and the phenomenon of flipping day and night appeared again. Starlight shone from his body, and the might of the dynasty spread out. The arrow shot out like a rainbow, piercing through the sun. A miserable shriek rang out in the air. Bang! After a while, an arrow struck a ferocious beast with an extremely terrifying aura, infinitely close to that of a holy venerate, and it landed on the drill ground. That severely injured ferocious beast could not move at all. However, its ferocious aura scared the Long clan disciples far away. While Xiao Chun fired 7 arrows, Monarch Yu did the same. Furthermore, he shot at the extremely fast, ferocious beasts in the sky. No, it was not an immovable target. Clearly, he wanted to defeat Shao Chun. After firing 7 arrows, Monarch Yu appeared somewhat fatigued. He looked at Shao Chun and said, "This white feather bow is a reward that I obtained with my military merits. I obtained it with my own abilities. Naturally, it is also a part of my strength. If you have any treasures, you can use them as well. Don't say that I, Monarch Yu, am bullying you." Monarch Yu's words sounded righteous, flabbergasting everyone. It was hard to imagine that there would be such a shameless person bullying Shao Chun in such a dignified manner. He did not have an illustrious clan or a strong sect. Monarch Yu smiled coldly and said, "I am the son of Duke Yun, a relative of the royal family. You are far from being comparable to me. Let's see how you are going to defeat me. I only need 1 arrow to defeat you." When the cloud spread out and the mysterious phenomenon of flipping day and night vanished, Shao Chun snorted coldly. He activated his blue dragon bloodline and released his divine eyes. His dragon might soared into the clouds. Without relying on the dynasty's might, he used his own dragon might to recreate the flipping day and night mysterious phenomenon. That pair of divine eyes swept through the surroundings, looking unparalleled. No one dared to look directly at them. Amid the crowd's startled cries, Shao Chun took out the god's shadow bow and infused all his soul energy into it. Then, he drew the bowstring and shot an arrow at the sky. Whoosh! The arrow shot out, and the bowstring trembled slightly. Cracks immediately appeared on the drill ground, spreading out like a spiderweb. However, no one paid attention to this. Everyone focused on that startling arrow. That arrow flew increasingly farther until it vanished from everyone's sight. Then, a loud sound startled the entire soaring dragon city. A resplendent and dazzling light, even more dazzling than the sun, burst forth in the starry heavens above the city. A star exploded in the air. The resplendent light disappeared in a flash. In the next moment, countless star fragments turned into meteors filling the sky and quickly fell to the ground. With this peak arrow, Shao Chun exploded star. The remnant might of the god's shadow bow knocked everyone to the ground in the drill ground. Only Shao Chun remained standing proudly. His dragon might was unparalleled, dominating the world. The moment this arrow shot out, there was no need to say who won or lost. You were just an insignificant duke's son, yet you dared to compete with Shao Chun in terms of status and bloodline. Shao Chun had an unparalleled rank 8 blue dragon bloodline. Even the princes of the dynasty might not be strong enough before Shao Chun if they were not related. No matter what Monarch Yu's purpose was, he had chosen the wrong target to use Shao Chun as a stepping stone. Chapter 1859. Meteors fell from the sky. Shao Chun held the god's shadow bow in his hand, shocking the surroundings. This arrow directly blew up a star the size of a city. In the starry heavens, even a powerful holy venerate could achieve such a feat with their full power. He had only destroyed a city with a single sword strike, but the problem was that he was not in the starry sky, but in a city. Even at such a high altitude, he was still able to shoot down a formation with 1 arrow. This was a little exaggerated and shocking. This was especially so for Shao Chun, who was also a star venerate. Above the Marquis's mansion, the upper echelons who had seen much of the world were all moved, feeling slightly shocked. The only one who could remain calm was the soaring dragon Marquis. Up on the drill ground, Monarch Yu watched all this in a daze. Suddenly, his expression twisted. He glared at Shao Chun and said, "You bitch! No wonder you wanted to compete in archery with me at the start. It turns out that you have a soul tool. What a good, lowly commoner, to actually dare scheme against this king." Shao Chun held his bow and said indifferently, "You can think whatever you want. However, you lost. You lost. Monarch Yu, you can't be this shameless. Previously, everyone was using the same bow and arrow, and your archery skills were obviously at a disadvantage." Long Hua, who had seen everything that had happened, couldn't help but angrily explain everything to Shao Chun. The other disciples of the Long family had the same thoughts as him, but there was still a grudge in their hearts. He was too embarrassed to speak up for Shao Chun. Even now, they still wanted to argue about who would win. Actually, it was already pointless. Even a fool could tell that Monarch had lost. Whether he was willing to admit it or not, he had lost. Furthermore, he had lost miserably. In terms of face, he had lost everything in this battle. The aloof, dazzling Monarch had fallen to the mundane world. Although his strength still surprised them, it was not enough for them to worship or respect him. He was just a mortal, and he was even somewhat shameless. First, he broke the rules and took out an inherited Tao artifact. Now, he refused to admit defeat. He even cursed with a face full of unwillingness, losing all of his poise. Monarch had turned into a stranger that they did not recognize. Scram, this king didn't lose. This king is best at sword techniques. Defeat the sword in my hand first. Monarch snorted coldly. In that instant, he drew his sword. The sword was like the wind, whistling out. Longhua's expression changed slightly as he quickly dodged. Monarch's sword intent nearly injured him. Shao Chun gently pushed off with his feet and put away the god's shadow bow. Then he moved back. Monarch's sword intent was exceptionally strong. It contained an unimaginably tyrannical monarch's might. The surging sword intent was like a tsunami of flames surging over. This king will not lose. Monarch showed a sullen expression as he leaped into the air and thrust his sword. On the tip of the sword, a scorching radiance burst out, as glaring as the sun. This was the famous heavenly flame sword technique of the Yinwu dynasty's royal court. The royal bloodline of the Yinwu dynasty's royal family had a strong affinity for fire-attributed energy. Aside from a few exceptions, most people would choose to cultivate fire-attributed cultivation techniques. With the addition of their bloodline, they could achieve twice the results with half the effort and cultivate much faster than ordinary people. Their comprehension and usage of fire-attributed cultivation techniques would also be much stronger. Monarch's sword strike brought out the explosive power of the fire-attributed energy to the fullest. The instant the tip of the sword lit up, the sword intent filling the air spread out like sparks. Sword intent filled the air before Shao Chun, bursting forth. There was no way to dodge at all. The two had already exhausted their soul energy. They could only use veritable essence energy, martial techniques, and their own techniques to fight. This was the first time Monarch faced such a strong fire-attributed sword technique. Shao Chun felt slightly startled. He could not find a suitable way to deal with it. Holding the tyrant's saber, Shao Chun retreated as he fought. Once Monarch erupted, he showed no signs of stopping. The flames in the surroundings rumbled endlessly. The drill ground, which was protected by an array formation, was blasted into terrifying pits one after another. Heavenly Flame Sword, 9 dragons soaring. Monarch roared ferociously, and all his veritable essence energy surged. Then, 9 lifelike flaming dragons filled with Monarch's might appeared in the surroundings, continuously circling him. This move, when the Marquis's residence's upper echelon saw this move, they were mildly startled. They felt that things had spiraled out of control. The moment the 9 terrifying flaming dragons appeared, the entire drill ground started burning under the horrifying heat. No moisture remained in the air, making it incredibly dry. What a terrifying temperature! At the same time, the moisture in Shao Chun's body evaporated rapidly. Before this move was executed, it already felt like it could kill. Shao Chun did not dare to be careless. He circulated the ice feather divine incantation, and his entire body became like ice. Thin ice feathers drifted in the surroundings, looking like heavy snowflakes. The temperature in the surroundings dropped a little. Monarch, who executed 9 dragons soaring, had already soared into the sky in front. Monarch looked dazzling in the sky. The flames blazed, looking like the blazing sun. Monarch and the true, blazing sun in the sky complemented each other, competing for glory. Monarch angrily pointed his sword at Shao Chun. The surrounding sky suddenly turned dark, leaving only the sun shining brightly. This light shrouded everyone's senses, preventing them from distinguishing the sun in the sky. Was it the true, blazing sun or Monarch with 9 dragons around him? This was somewhat inconceivable. Whoosh! As Monarch Yu pointed his sword, a dragon-like sword light flew out of the sun, burning up all the light. As the sword light shot toward Shao Chun, it contained Monarch Yu's peak sword intent, the dynasty's might, and a terrifying fire-attributed energy. The addition of Monarch Yu's cultivation technique allowed that fire-attributed energy to rival the might of the fire Great Tao energy. How fast? The sword light was scarily fast. In nearly a flash, it arrived beside Shao Chun. Shao Chun executed the Thunder Dragon art to its limits. Electric light flickered as he dodged. Boom! Who knew? This sword strike was just the beginning. There were a total of 9 sword strikes, each one faster than the one before. The final sword strike nearly forced out Shao Chun's blue dragon divine wings. With such power, it still didn't contain any soul power. If it contained soul energy, the might of these 9 sword strikes would undergo a qualitative change. After the 9 sword strikes, the entire drill ground no longer existed, leaving behind a scene of devastation. The ground split apart, and countless huge rocks flew into the sky. They were so dense that they covered the sky. Shao Chun died. When Monarch Yu saw that Shao Chun managed to dodge his move, he became enraged. Monarch Yu's star venerate will swept out from his forehead with a vast dynasty's might. Indistinct ancient war drums and the singing of epic poems appeared in the surroundings. That was the boundless accumulations of an ancient dynasty. Monarch Yu's star venerate will stir up some of it. This was the protection of the dynasty's luck for the royal clan disciples in its territory. If Monarch Yu's royal clan bloodline was pure enough, he might be able to truly uncover the tip of the iceberg of the ancient accumulations of this dynasty. Boom! Monarch Yu's star venerate will contain an ancient might that looked solid. Everywhere the star venerate will pass, the huge rocks in the way instantly turned to ashes and vanished. Not to be outdone, Shao Chun flashed with a dragon seal in his soul pool. The will of soul containing the divine might of the blue dragon clashed fearlessly. Bang! 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 The 2 wills of soul clashed intensely, producing intense explosions. The entire Marquis residence shook intensely, spreading to the city. The buildings that were not protected by formations like the Marquis residence crumbled. The 2's auras surged in the air. The shockwaves caused countless rocks to explode. This no longer looks like a fight between star venerates. What a terrifying aura! This is simply a fight between 2 holy venerates. However, there is no holy venerate will. This Shao Chun is really incredible. To think that he did not lose to Monarch Yu in a clash of wills in the Yinwu dynasty's territory. His dragon might is really unfathomable. What exactly is it? However, up until now, Shao Chun has been passively defending. If he does not counterattack, Monarch Yu might wear him down to death. The many hidden experts in the Marquis residence all flew out. They carefully watched the 2 fighting intensely in the air. Surging sword intent and saber intent clashed everywhere on the drill ground. The 2's figures flashed, so fast that they did not even leave after images. Dang! 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 The saber and sword clashed. Every time they clashed, a loud, melodious sound rang out, stirring up fluctuations in the clouds in the sky. The sky changed color, winds blew, and clouds churned. In the dynasty's territory, those of the same generation would have an innate disadvantage when fighting with the royal clan's bloodline. Not only did Shao Chun endure this disadvantage, but he also made up for the disadvantage of his cultivation being 1 grade lower than Monarch Yu's. After all, Monarch Yu possessed outstanding talent, a demonic genius who could challenge those of higher cultivation realms. Monarch Yu is not an ordinary star venerate expert. Along the way, Monarch Yu had used all sorts of resources to stabilize his cultivation. His accumulations were deep, far beyond what ordinary people could compare to. Along the way, the royal clan's bloodline lacked everything except resources. However, they were shocked to discover that this sexless loose cultivator seemed to possess deep accumulations. His accumulation seemed even stronger than Monarch Yu's. At first, when facing Monarch Yu, Shao Chun still found it hard to hold out. Now, he became increasingly calm and unruffled. I will not lose. I absolutely will not lose to a mixed-blood dragon like you. Monarch Yu glared furiously, appearing crazy as his long hair fluttered about. The more Monarch Yu fell into a disadvantageous position, the crazier he became. He sent out many sword moves without any regard for his life. Shao Chun did not want to fight to the death with such a person. It was not worth it. Let's see how crazy Monarch Yu can be. Shao Chun silently executed the Mahamaya abstinence violation first move, dreamlike mundane world, which he comprehended from breaking the mundane. As Monarch Yu retreated, he swung his saber. When a strange purple saber and the swaying saber light entered Monarch Yu's eyes, they turned into illusions, creating a dream. I'm a relative of the royal clan. I absolutely will not lose. Monarch Yu turned increasingly irritable. It seemed like he wanted to risk his life, executing a risky move that would injure both sides. Shao Chun snorted coldly and made the first move, using dreams as a saber. Shao Chun withdrew the saber light in the air and turned it into a beautiful purple saber light. Then, he instantly broke through Monarch Yu's sword move. Ka, ka, ka. Crisp sounds rang out, sounding like treasure swords breaking. The beautiful purple saber light looked both real and fake, like a dream or illusion. When it appeared before Monarch Yu's eyes, it activated the dream that Shao Chun left in his heart. Monarch Yu showed a confused look, standing there in a daze. However, the purple saber light did not show any intention of stopping. It pierced through Monarch Yu's exquisite armor. Furthermore, there was a defensive technique that an expert left in Monarch Yu's body. The saber light pierced through Monarch Yu's chest. It was like a solid spear hung Monarch Yu in the air, preventing him from moving. Chapter 1860. Monarch Yu showed a pained expression. That strand of saber chi pierced his chest, making him feel incredible pain. However, Monarch Yu could not move at all, feeling extremely sullen. You are seeking death. How dare you injure Monarch Yu? Kill him. Seeing Monarch Yu in such a miserable state, many of his guards became enraged and charged at Shao Chun. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Figures soared into the air. These people were star-venerate elites with extraordinary strength. When Shao Chun drew the God Shadow bow, he already drained his soul energy. Then, he fought a huge battle with Monarch Yu. Shao Chun exhausted a lot of his strength. He could only bring out about 50% of his strength. Clearly, he found it hard to deal with so many enemies. You bunch of trash. How dare you bully me with numbers? No way. Just as Cluster Lord Lon Luo cried out and was about to get her big brother and father to make a move, a figure came out of Shao Chen's back. It was the little demonic monk's silver saber, Yin Shun. He pointed at the air and sent out the Heavenly Heart Finger. The Heavenly Heart Finger that the little monk created by merging the Heavenly Heart art with a Buddhist sect cultivation technique was extremely mighty. When the little monk pointed, he knocked back the group of people at the very front. After those people fell to the ground, they suffered severe injuries and vomited blood, fainting from the pain. The few people at the very front were in even worse states. Not even their corpses remained after this finger strike. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It was not over yet. The little monk's figure flashed, and he punched with his dainty fist. Aside from holy venerates, everyone could block one punch from the little monk. Soon, only the few holy venerates that came with Monarch Yu could block the little monk on the shattered drill ground. However, the little monk had already undergone a rebirth, his physical body reconstructed. Furthermore, he had obtained the Heavenly Heart art that the Scarlet Blood Pirate King left behind. His comprehension ability was even more monstrous than Shao Chen's. The Heavenly Heart Finger that the little monk comprehended was boundlessly strong. Back then, it was not that Shao Chun had not thought of merging the Heavenly Heart art with his Sharp Spirit Finger. However, after trying, he discovered that it was not that easy. There were simply too many difficulties involved. He could only settle for the next best thing, merging the heavenly hard art with his archery skills. Furthermore, with the god shadow bow, Shao Chun managed to carve out another path. Monarch used 2 holy venerates, led a few late-stage star venerates to fight the little monk. The little monk had the advantage of a physical body, making him incredibly nimble. The little monks of Shao of above. This was especially so for the Long family disciples who had looked down on the little monk when they were arguing with him and looked down on him for being a brat. He felt a slight chill run down his back. With this kind of strength, if a punch landed on his body, thinking about it, the consequences were truly terrifying. Even a holy venerate was not a match for Shao Chun. If it were them, they would probably explode with one punch. Shao of Monoth! Shao! Monarch howled in the air. Several of his subordinates went over, trying to neutralize that purple saber light. Ming Yun, say, of Chun of Ming King. The strand of extremely devilish violet-colored blade light seemed material, yet carried a dreamlike, ethereal feeling, causing them to feel at a loss for how to deal with it. Nothing he had learned in his life could explain how such a saber technique was formed. Young master, wait a moment. Wait a moment. The might of this saber light is slowly weakening. A few old men surrounded Monarch. Sweat trickled down their foreheads, appearing incredibly anxious. I can't wait anymore. Monarch roared ferociously. Then he grasped that strand of saber chi with both hands and used all his strength to pull it out. Every time he pulled out an inch, he felt a heart-wrenching pain. It looked like only this saber light stabbed in a Monarch's chest. In reality, Shao Chun had used creating dreams with the saber earlier. Unknowingly, the saber light had already penetrated deep into his sea of consciousness. The saber lights that had entered deep into the sea of consciousness and body were formless and invisible. At this moment, they were about to be pulled out. However, there were tens of thousands of them, and they were like hooks. The pain and damage caused by them were extremely terrifying. The wailing monarch revealed a decisive expression as he clenched his teeth and forcefully pulled out this saber light. Shao Chun, I want you dead. Monarch's hair was disheveled, and he appeared to be in a sorry state. His eyes were sunken, and he no longer had his earlier grace. Monarch roared ferociously, and a terrifying aura spread out from his body. An invisible might and pressure encased the entire drill ground. The boundless figure of a dynasty appeared indistinctly in the sky, appearing illusory and real. The terrifying might of the dynasty spread out from above, causing everyone present to feel a great pressure. Their legs turned soft, and they could not stand stably. It's over. This monarchy is going all out. He wants to use his bloodline to forcefully shake up the dynasty's accumulations. He wants to use the Supreme Dynasty's might to crush Shao Chun. He is trying to perish together with Shao Chun. He can only truly move the dynasty's accumulations if he is a king or has an oral order from Yin Huang. As a monarch, he is still far from sufficient. Quickly leave. Quickly leave. Monarch is crazy. The expressions of the Long clan disciples and the Marquis's residence's guards all changed drastically as they fled. Whoosh! However, just as that terrifying dynasty's accumulations were about to materialize into many ancient cities, a sovereign will appeared on the tall platform. The moment this sovereign will appeared, everyone within 5,000 kilometers felt an urge to kneel and worship it. Boom! The terrifying dynasty's accumulations in the sky crumbled in one strike from this sovereign will. Men, treat Monarch's injuries. The soaring dragon Marquis, who had remained silent on the tall platform, spoke for the first time after dispelling Monarch's crazy attack with a wave of his hand. Whoosh! 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 Many experts immediately rushed out of the Marquis's residence. They restrained Monarch without saying anything and brought him away. All of you disperse. This practice ends here. The soaring dragon Marquis stood up. Without even looking at Shao Chun, he led the Marquis's residence's upper echelon away. On the other hand, after Long Yin stood up, he gave Shao Chun a deep look. Today, Long Yin was truly shocked by this white-robed bladesman's elegance. Perhaps even the princes would not be as impressive. That's not right. Perhaps the prince's cultivations are higher than Xiao Qian's. However, the number of princes who could compare to Xiao Qian's elegance and tyranny could be counted on one's fingers, as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. When Long Yin saw Xiao Chun look over, he quickly turned around and left with his father. Whoosh! Lan Luo did not have any worries. She gently drifted over and landed beside Xiao Chun. Lan Luo frowned and asked, "Are you all right? I don't know what got into this monarch you, but he targeted you like that. I really misjudged this person. Earlier, I was still considering whether to join the Divine Sword Pavilion together with him." Xiao Chun looked to the front and replied indifferently, "Fortunately, the little monk helped me block these people. Your father also stopped Monarch Yu from risking his life. I'm fine." After Monarch Yu was brought away, his guards were no longer in the mood to fight. However, they could not leave just because they wanted to now. The little monk wanted to teach this group of people a lesson, so he did not let them leave. "Little ancestor, we were wrong. Let's go. Stop hitting them. You little child, why are you so unreasonable?" The two holy venerates held on bitterly. However, the late-stage star venerate old men were beaten into submission. When the little monk's tender little fists struck his body, he felt so much pain that he wished he were dead. His old bones felt like they would fall apart. "You're allowed to bully my big brother with numbers, but I'm not allowed to bully you? Is there still any law or justice? I will not stop until I beat you up." The little monk spoke righteously, but he had a mischievous smile on his baby face. Actually, the little monk's hands were simply itching. He had held back for so long and had not made a move. This time, he could not stop himself. Such a scene flabbergasted the Long clan disciples. This was indeed a bona fide little ancestor. Anyone who saw it would have a headache. This father-son combination of Xiao Chun and the little monk was somewhat unrivaled. Each was scarier than the other. Who could imagine that the harmless-looking, incredibly cute little monk was actually even more violent than Xiao Chun? To think that they were even more violent than Xiao Chun, inspiring fear in others. When Lan Luo saw this somewhat strange situation, she also felt shocked. However, when she thought of something, she suddenly showed worry on her face. "Oh no, you offended Monarch Yu. The Dukian behind him will definitely not take this lying down. If he turns you into a wanted criminal of the dynasty, it will be problematic." However, Xiao Chun did not care. He said softly, "This is what your father wants to see." Lan Luo's expression changed drastically. Her chest heaved up and down in shock. Chapter 1861. What? Clearly, Lan Luo's shocked expression was not feigned. It looked like she did not know many things. Actually, Xiao Chun did not know either. However, he could guess it. From the start until now, the soaring dragon Marquis had a firm grasp of the situation. As long as he wanted to, he could stop the bet between Xiao Chun and Monarch Yu at any time. However, he did not, silently agreeing to the bet. Even when Xiao Chun pierced Monarch Yu with his saber, the soaring dragon Marquis did not stop it. He allowed Xiao Chun to defeat Monarch Yu in front of everyone, causing Monarch Yu to lose face and end up in a sorry state. In the end, when Monarch Yu went somewhat crazy and wanted to execute a killing move that would end in mutual destruction, the soaring dragon Marquis easily stopped him. Such a scene verified some of Xiao Chun's guesses. However, it did not matter. Xiao Chun did not care about all this. Now he was more open-minded about many things. In the eyes of ordinary people, the soaring dragon Marquis held high authority and horrifying strength. In Xiao Chun's heart, he treated the soaring dragon Marquis as an equal. He did not feel that there was a need to be cautious or cautious. All he needed was to maintain respect for the strong. "Xiao Chun, are you saying that my father purposely framed you so that you would suffer Monarch Yu's rage?" Lan Luo asked quickly when Xiao Chun remained silent. Perhaps. However, it was not intentional. He was just going with the flow. Most of the reason is that Monarch Yu sought death himself. Otherwise, I would not have opposed him after noticing that something was off. Xiao Chun consoled, "Don't dwell on this. Your father is in the dynasty. Most of the time, he cannot directly offend the royal clan. He is in a high position and has many implications for the interests of the entire dynasty. He cannot express his stance casually. If an outsider appeared at this moment and could share his burden, that would naturally be for the best. Furthermore, I do not mind doing him a favor at little cost. After all, he is your father. Xiao Qian placed more emphasis on the word you, expressing Xiao Qian's opinion on this matter. As you are Lan Luo, I do not care even if your father is in the wrong. Xiao Qian's meaning was not obvious, but Lan Luo could still make it out. Thank you. Feeling warmth in her heart, Lan Luo expressed her thanks and quickly took her leave. She had some doubts in her heart that she wanted to clarify. After Monarch Yu left, Xiao Qian glanced at the little monk, who was still trembling with Monarch Yu subordinates. Then he said softly, "You've played enough. Let's go." Roger that. The little monk giggled and used the heavenly heart finger to sweep away the 4 late-stage, star-venerate old men. He leaped into the air and landed in the bag on Xiao Qian's back. The remaining people immediately felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders, and they felt much more relaxed. Only the 2 holy venerates looked at Xiao Qian with some displeasure in their eyes. He didn't want to let Xiao Qian go so easily. With Monarch Yu in such a miserable state, these attendants and guards would definitely be held responsible. None of them could escape punishment. Xiao Qian glanced at them indifferently. Then, he ignored these people and left. Marquis's estate, within the study of the soaring dragon Marquis. Father, this Xiao Qian is really incredible, even though he is just a star venerate. Although he is still a star venerate, I can tell that his potential is even greater than those princes. He is completely worthy of 8th sister. Inside the room, Long Yin continued excitedly to the soaring dragon Marquis. Furthermore, 8th sister truly likes him. I think he really can do it. At this moment, the soaring dragon Marquis was reading a book. After he put it down, he said, "Never mind. When the Hidden Spirit Temple's people arrive, we'll let them leave. It is best not to get involved in this mess." Long Yin exclaimed in surprise, "Father, isn't this the plan you thought of? Let Monarch Yu, who brought the marriage certificate, fight with Xiao Qian, lose, and take the initiative to leave. Now that we have achieved our goal, why do we not agree to 8th sister and Xiao Qian being together?" Xiao Qian guessed right. From the very start, the soaring dragon Marquis had everything under his control. Monarch Yu had brought the marriage certificate of his father, Duke Yun, to propose to the soaring dragon Marquis. Duke Yun was a person with authority in the dynasty. He was very close to the 8th prince's bloodline. When the throne changed, the emperor had to abdicate every 100 years unless there were special circumstances. Then, the most outstanding prince would be chosen to inherit the throne. That was to say, the emperor of the Yinwu dynasty could only hold the throne for 100 years. Then, the emperor would have to abdicate and let his descendants enjoy the resources and the luck of the dynasty, as well as the supreme imperial authority. This was for the sake of providing the dynasty with fresh blood, ensuring that the dynasty maintained its vitality. This was to maintain its combat prowess in the competition with the surrounding empires and dynasties. Otherwise, the dynasty would become rigid, and its luck would decline. The nation's luck could fall at any moment. Once the ancient dynasties became rigid, the nation's luck would decline, and there would be the risk of destruction. Since ancient times, there had been no lack of such examples. Even the strong Tianwu dynasty of the past nearly perished due to the decline of the nation's luck. Hence, the rulers of the various dynasties and empires would not remain in power for too long. Otherwise, no matter how brilliant they were, the dynasty's system would inevitably become rigid. This was something that could not be avoided. Hence, the dynasty had to change every 100 years to maintain its vitality and vigor. Now, the Yinwu dynasty's 100 years were almost up. The competition between the various princes was intense. Strong people from all walks of life all took sides. The soaring dragon Marquis did not want to get involved with Duke Yun because he did not want to get sucked into the whirlpool of power struggles for the throne. However, Duke Yun was strong, and the soaring dragon Marquis could not directly reject him, not giving him face. Coincidentally, Xiao Chun appeared at this moment. The soaring dragon Marquis thought of using Xiao Chun to defeat Monarch Yu, making him take the initiative to withdraw. He had no choice but to do this. Even if he offended Duke Yun, it would just be a fight between the younger generation. Duke Yun would not be able to find a reason to seek trouble for Xiao Chun. This matter looked flawless. Even Monarch Yu himself would not have expected it. Monarch Yu was an intelligent person. Everything was within his calculations. How could he fall for the soaring dragon Marquis scheme? However, this was the truth. At this moment, the unconscious monarch Yu had already been carried out of the dragon Marquis' residence. He would not have the face to bring the marriage certificate to propose again. The soaring dragon Marquis looked at his eldest son in confusion. The soaring dragon Marquis asked softly, "Why do you think I am so certain that Xiao Chun will defeat Monarch Yu?" Long Yin smiled and said, "Father, as a sovereign personage, your eyes are naturally extraordinary. How could you not see it? With a comparison, you can easily tell who is stronger and who is weaker." When the soaring dragon Marquis heard that, he laughed. Then, he removed the armor on his chest and the heart-protecting mirror, revealing an eye-catching wound on his shoulder. Even now, this wound had not healed completely. One could see the festering wound. "Father, when did you get injured? Did an assassin come in?" Long Yan's expression changed drastically as he stood up in a fluster. The soaring dragon Marquis put on the armor and the heart-protecting mirror again. Then, he said indifferently, "This was left by Xiao Chun last night." "Ah." Long Yan's expression turned even more shocked. The soaring dragon Marquis said, "I'm fine already. Don't worry. It's just somewhat difficult to heal." That night, the mysterious black-clad man who watched Xiao Chun brandish his saber was the soaring dragon Marquis himself. Originally, the soaring dragon Marquis wanted to make a move himself to test out Xiao Chun's strength. Who knew on that night, when the bright moon hung high in the sky, a white-clad man danced alone to the moon. With just one look, the soaring dragon Marquis was shocked, intoxicated by that exquisite saber technique. Amid the mottled light and shadow, the exquisite and gentle saber light hit a roaring heart. The soaring dragon Marquis forgot about his original target and quietly watched Xiao Chun's saber technique, his horizons broadening. However, the soaring dragon Marquis had not expected Xiao Chun to discover him. By the time he startled awake, the saber light had already struck him. The soaring dragon Marquis quickly fled, not paying much attention to it. However, when the sky brightened, he discovered how startling this saber light was. Even the soaring dragon Marquis could not completely remove it. This was simply shocking. After Long Yin heard that, he felt a chill. Xiao Chun's potential was far greater than he had imagined. To think that even his father could not quickly heal his wound. This Xiao Chun was truly a demonic genius on a monster level. The soaring dragon Marquis' gaze was deep as he said indifferently, "Now, do you know why I sent him away? It is not that he is not outstanding enough, but that he is too outstanding. My Marquis' residence cannot afford to raise such a large true dragon." Understand. However, eighth sister, Long Yin frowned slightly. When he thought of his beloved eighth sister, he felt somewhat sad. Chapter 1862. At the mention of Lan Luo, the soaring dragon Marquis appeared somewhat sorrowful. Just at this moment, footsteps suddenly came from outside. Lan Luo rushed in. "Eighth sister!" Long Yin exclaimed in some fluster, appearing somewhat shocked. When Lan Luo saw the two's expressions, she said, "Indeed, it is as Xiao Chun said. You two are hiding something from me." The soaring dragon Marquis exchanged looks with Long Yin. After a moment of silence, the soaring dragon Marquis said, "Speak the truth, then." Long Yin organized his thoughts and told Lan Luo about the cause and effect of the matter. "This Monarch Yu is really despicable. I absolutely will not marry him." Lan Luo revealed a disgusted expression. When she thought of Monarch Yu's actions, she felt repulsed. Long Yin asked, "Earlier, you said that Xiao Chun already knows. What's going on?" Lan Luo did not hesitate to tell the two everything that Xiao Chun told her. After the soaring dragon Marquis heard that, He smiled bitterly and said, I already gave him such a high evaluation. Unexpectedly, I still underestimated him. Let's leave this matter at that. When the little monk's master arrives, I will personally send him off and apologize to him. Night arrived as scheduled. Xiao Chun treated his injuries in the courtyard, thinking about the gains and losses of today's battle. After the battle with Monarch Yu, Xiao Chun had a good estimate of his own strength. With his strength, it shouldn't be a problem for him to join any 7th grade sect. However, Monarch Yu was not considered a powerful expert of the dynasty's younger generation. He had not even joined a rank 7 sect. In terms of strength, Xiao Chun should still be a distance away from the core disciples of a rank 7 sect. However, the gap was already rather limited. Xiao Chun recalled that when he first entered the Great Thousand Realms, he was not even comparable to a rank 3 sect disciple. In just a few short years, he gained his current strength and accumulations to enter the Central Great Realm. This was already very rare. In this battle, Xiao Chun's greatest comprehension was that he now knew how mighty his peak move was. After activating his great desolate Ian bloodline and using his soul energy to drive the God Shadow Bow, a holy venerate would die for sure if they were caught off guard. The other was the purple saber chi that Xiao Chun executed at the end. Dreamlike mundane world. Using a saber to create dreams, using a saber to enter a dream, using a dream as a saber, he could wield them freely. The next step was to enter the dream and let this saber art penetrate deep into his bones and soul. With a casual swing of his saber, he could send out the boundlessly strange purple saber chi that seemed both real and fake at the same time. As for its weakness, it was still in its cultivation. Before this monarch, Yu joined a rank 7 sect. He was already a late-stage star venerate. One could imagine how formidable the cultivation of the disciples of the 7th grade sects were. Actually, Xiao Chun's vision was too broad. Within the 4 great dynasties, rank 7 sects were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns, and their numbers were extremely few. A 7th grade sect was already standing at the peak of this world. For an ordinary person, being able to join a rank 6 sect was already extremely amazing. Xiao Chun could obtain a place for himself in the dynasty and make a name for himself in the entire Central Great Realm. Furthermore, there was a limit to how many disciples a rank 7 sect could recruit. Many of the rank 6 sects were true inheritors. In reality, they weren't much weaker than the disciples of the rank 7 sections. It's time to start cultivating the demonic cloud, heaven swallowing art. Xiao Chun opened his eyes and muttered to himself. Xiao Chun's cultivation had already stagnated for some time. He needed to dual cultivate the demonic and martial veritable essence energy to raise his cultivation. Cultivating any one of them alone would not allow his cultivation to improve. The demonic cloud heaven swallowing art had a total of 9 layers. Each layer was extremely difficult to cultivate, requiring vast resources and a corresponding demonic tribulation. While cultivating, Xiao Chun also had to guard against the corrosion of heart demons, which was even harder to cultivate than the Purple Thunder Divine incantation. This was another challenge for Xiao Chun. It was also a difficulty that he had to face while dual cultivating the demonic and martial veritable essence energy. During the Great Desolate Aeon, ferocious beasts ran amok. The world was in chaos, and logic no longer existed. Only the strong could survive. Among the many ferocious beasts, there was a huge bird that could hold up the sky called the demonic cloud. At first, it was just a demonic cloud born in the primal chaos. Although it had the bloodline of a god demon, it was still incredibly weak. The title page recorded the origins of the demonic cloud heaven swallowing art. This cultivation technique was born from the demonic cloud bird, a great desolate Aeon ferocious beast. After the primal chaos demonic scripture, the demonic Tao's primogenitor grade cultivation technique was lost. This cultivation technique became one of the top 10 demonic Tao cultivation techniques. Ever since the Scarlet Blood Pirate King fell, this cultivation technique had not appeared for 10,000 years. Now, people knew very little about it. Xiao Chun carefully read through the book, uttering deep thought. If one wanted to cultivate this cultivation technique, one had to condense a demonic cloud seed in one's body. Otherwise, one would not be able to cultivate it. With this thought, Xiao Chen stood up and left the room. Then, he looked at the night sky. After some thought, Xiao Chen soared into the air and soared up. After a while, he arrived in the clouds. Condensing demonic clouds was not a difficult task in the Forbidden Sea. However, in the Yinwu dynasty, a nation ruled by the righteous Tao, it was not easy. The environment with spiritual energy was different. The spiritual energy of the Yinwu dynasty was astonishingly pure. There was practically no need to purposely temper it. The spiritual energy was already very dense. From a moment one was born in the Yinwu dynasty, one would have a higher spiritual energy than the people of the outside world. It is not enough. The clouds here are too thin. I have to find a place with exceptionally dense clouds. Xiao Chun casually grabbed a cloud and analyzed it for a while. Then he looked higher. Whoosh! As Xiao Chen's figure continued upward, he slowly felt a huge pressure. An invisible might and pressure encased the entire dynasty's territory. When Xiao Chen looked up, he seemed to see a huge, invisible dragon glaring at him. It was the Imperial Dynasty's dragon luck that was protecting this ancient dynasty. When it reached a certain point, it would offend the dynasty's might. Flying upward would become increasingly difficult. However, Xiao Chen already saw an extremely dense cloud layer 10 kilometers above. It was very suitable for condensing demonic clouds. Xiao Chen released his dragon might and forced his way through, heading for that dense cloud. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen's dragon might seemed very insignificant when compared to the dynasty's luck. As the dragon might clashed, lightning tore through the sky, spreading in all directions. The clouds below clashed, and thunder roared and lightning flashed, followed by heavy rain. I've arrived. 1 hour later, Xiao Chun heaved a sigh of relief and entered that terrifyingly dense cloud layer. The cloud layer was pitch black. It was a terrifying thundercloud. Xiao Chun could not even see his fingers. The extremely dense, lightning-attributed energy within interfered with Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. Under such circumstances, Xiao Chun could not send out his soul energy at all. What soul energy feared the most was this kind of naturally occurring lightning. With just a touch, soul energy would scatter. Xiao Chun could only open his heavenly eye and barely explore the cloud layer, advancing carefully. This thundercloud was unfathomably vast and boundless. It was several times larger than the entire soaring dragon Marquise, looking exceptionally startling. Whoosh! Suddenly, a crystalline ferocious beast flickering with electric light appeared in front, flying toward Xiao Chun. Thunder Essence. Xiao Chun recognized this ferocious beast. It was a spirit born from a peak attribute. It happened to be a lightning-attributed spirit. It had a cruel nature, a fiery temper, and an extremely aggressive nature. This was a 100-year-old thunder essence with the strength of a star venerate. Its entire body was made of energy, which was exceptionally problematic for ordinary people to deal with. However, Xiao Chun had his own methods. He took out the wedding funeral bow and fired 10 arrows before the thunder essence arrived. Then, he infused the heart flame in the arrows and fired 10 arrows in a row. When the thunder essence was only 1 kilometer away from Xiao Chun, it finally crumbled, turning into bolts of lightning that looked like electric snakes slithering out. It left behind a resplendent crystal floating in the clouds. This crystal was known as a thunder crystal rock. Its value varied according to the age of the thunder essence. To lightning-attributed cultivators, it was very valuable. Experts specialized in hunting thunder essences in thunderclouds to obtain thunder crystals. Xiao Chen casually put away this 100-year-old thunder crystal rock and continued forward. As Zhang Xian traveled further and further away, he encountered more and more thunder spirits. There were all kinds of thunder spirits. Sometimes they were snakes, sometimes huge trees, and sometimes humans. The only thing they had in common was that they were energy bodies. After dealing with a batch of more than 100 thunder essences, Xiao Chun stopped advancing. If he went any further, he would end up in danger, given his strength. These thunderclouds were much more horrifying than he had imagined. However, it was enough to stop here. He could absorb the cloud energy and condense demonic clouds. Xiao Chun released the demon blood vulture to protect him. The demon blood vulture screeched and hid in the clouds, flying around happily. Xiao Chun sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Then, he lit up his 9-star primal core. As Xiao Chun infused his demonic attributed veritable essence energy into his hands, Xiao Chun continuously formed hand seals. As Xiao Chun's hand seals changed, his demonic attributed veritable essence energy drained continuously. A terrifying aura slowly spread out from his body. This aura caused the clouds to churn, rising and falling like the waves of the sea. Then, Xiao Chun formed the heaven-swallowing seal. A huge demonic cloudbird image appeared behind Xiao Chun. As the heaven-swallowing seal formed, the demonic cloudbird opened its beak and sucked. The demonic nature hidden in the unfathomably deep demonic clouds turned into thousands of tiny black lines that entered Xiao Chun's body. Those black energy lines gave off a demonic glow. As they danced around, they stirred up demonic clouds. The process of condensing demonic clouds went rather smoothly. Chapter 1863. Amidst the unfathomably vast and mysterious thunderclouds, Xiao Chun formed the heaven-devouring seal with both hands and absorbed the demonic nature hidden in the clouds. The demonic nature turned into countless black ribbons and entered Xiao Chun's body. The environment here was different. The demonic nature here could not be compared to the Forbidden Ocean. It would definitely be much slower than in the ash-gray sea. However, as long as there were no accidents, it was only a matter of time before he successfully condensed the demonic cloud seed. The eyes of the terrifying demonic cloudbird behind him shone with a demonic light that seemed solid, looking somewhat terrifying. The demon blood vultures flying around occasionally exchanged glances with that demonic cloudbird, feeling fear in their hearts. It was as if he had bumped into his ancestor, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. For hours later, a black light appeared above his dantian. This speck of black light was exceptionally deep. It was only a speck, but gave off the feeling that it carried an enormous amount of energy. The demonic cloud seed was about to be successfully condensed. At this moment, in the depths of the thunderclouds, two strange black-clothed men were hunting thunder crystals. Sensing the abnormal auras, a strange expression appeared on Zhang Xian's face. Strange, there are people cultivating demonic arts here. Let's go take a look. Maybe they're from the same clan. The reason why these two freaks were called freaks was because their faces were covered with faintly discernible black scales. Furthermore, there was a single horn at the center of his eyebrows. He did not look like a human. So. As the two walked out of the thunderclouds, they saw streaks of black demonic light gently drifting in the thunderclouds like ribbons. A look of surprise appeared on their faces. Big brother, this looks like the heaven-devouring seal. It's the demonic cloud, heaven-swallowing art. I read about it in ancient texts, and it's one of the 10 great demonic techniques. Interesting, this person should have just started cultivating. If he succeeded, he would be able to absorb the demonic nature of this place in an instant. There would be no need to go through so much trouble. The stronger of the two had thicker scales on his face, and his figure was thin. A trace of greed flashed in his eyes. It was obvious that he was greedy. Go! The two of them moved as fast as lightning in the thunderclouds, flying toward Xiao Chun's location. 1 hour later, the demon blood vulture's feathers suddenly shone with a scarlet light. It let out a sharp cry that shook the surroundings. At the critical moment, Xiao Chun's heart skipped a beat. A strong enemy had arrived. He's not one of us, the slightly plump-scaled man said in a deep voice as he looked at Xiao Chun, who was surrounded by thousands of strands of demonic threads, and the demon cloudbird behind him. The lean man stared at the image of the demonic cloudbird and said solemnly, "It is indeed the demonic cloud heaven swallowing art. Go!" Without hesitation, the two of them turned into a flash of lightning and flashed toward Xiao Chun. However, Just as he was halfway there, countless tiny red lights shot out from the thunderclouds. Those were the demon blood vulture's feathers. They looked like arrows covering the sky as they shot toward the two. Clang, clang, clang. The demon blood vulture's sudden attack covered a wide area. The two strange men could not dodge. Unable to dodge in time, the two of them were struck by hundreds of feathers. A water barrier flickered on the two's bodies, successfully blocking the poisonous feathers. However, his attack was also stopped, and he was forced to retreat. Demon blood vulture. That was the cry of this strange bird earlier. To think that there is a demon blood vulture protecting him. Big brother, this person is somewhat difficult to deal with. The slightly plump, scaled man hesitated, fearing that it would be difficult to deal with Xiao Chun after he succeeded. What are you afraid of? Riches come from danger. This person is not a holy venerate. So what if he wakes up? The lean man was clearly overcome by greed. After he recognized the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art, he did not want to give up. Go and restrain this strange bird. Whoosh! The plump man roared angrily, and the scales on his face appeared, densely covering the surface of the water. Then he swung his sword horizontally. He easily sliced through the thunderclouds, and the sword landed on the demon blood vulture's back. The heavy strike made the demon blood vulture very uncomfortable. However, the demon blood vulture was not to be trifled with. The moment the sword struck it, it immediately counterattacked. The demon blood vulture turned around and pecked. Its huge body nimbly turned in the air. Its hook-like beak pecked a large hole in the lean man's chest. Dang! The slightly plump scaled man held his sword horizontally in front of his chest. However, the strike still knocked him back. His sword nearly flew out of his hand. Damn it! The slightly plump scaled man roared furiously as he fought the demon blood vulture. The slightly plump scaled man used his advantage in the terrain to fight the demon blood vulture evenly, unable to gain any advantage. The demon blood vulture was strong, but could not do anything to the other party. The demon blood vulture hid in the clouds, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Despite its strength, the demon blood vulture could not catch the other party. The demon blood vulture wanted to launch a large-scale attack several times. However, because the demon blood vulture was too close, it feared accidentally injuring Xiao Chun, so its hands were tied. This is a good opportunity. I'll kill it with one sword strike. The lean man's eyes lit up as he fixed his gaze on Xiao Chun. The lean man immediately made up his mind and drew his demonic sword. The lean man's eyes filled with a demonic nature. His sword flickered with a purple watery light, and motes of light spread out. The demon blood vulture's sword gave off ripples of electricity. That was water-attributed energy and lightning-attributed energy perfectly merging. This silent sword strike contained the berserk speed of lightning-attributed energy and the stealth of traceless water. The gentle water-attributed energy perfectly masked the lightning-attributed energy and surging sword intent. An ordinary person would easily ignore the might of this sword strike and rush to receive it. Without any mental preparation, one would often be caught off guard and lose their lives. Xiao Chun felt somewhat nervous. The black light in his dantian had not formed a demonic cloud yet. He needed some time. Xiao Chun had no choice but to take a risk. Otherwise, all his previous efforts would be for naught, and he would suffer even more severe injuries. Whoosh! At the crucial moment, Xiao Chun opened his eyes and executed the sharp spirit finger with one hand and the heaven-swallowing art with the other. At the crucial moment, he split his attention. Clang! Xiao Chun gathered all his veritable essence energy, soul energy, and vital qi, filling his limbs and bones. He used his body as a cauldron to communicate with the power of the world. Xiao Chun's sharp spirit finger finally caught the other party's sword strike. Boom! A berserk force exploded from the other party's sword. The lightning sword intent contained in the water instantly exploded, nearly sending Xiao Chun flying. Fortunately, there was a demonic cloud bird image behind him, helping him stabilize this space. How can this be? The other party caught the other party's sword strike with two fingers, startling the skinny man. A cold light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He flicked his fingers, and the energy gathered between them immediately bounced back. The lightning sword intent in the skinny man's sword immediately bounced back. The sword continuously twisted, and the skinny man vomited a mouthful of blood as he retreated 10 kilometers. After knocking the other party back with one finger, Xiao Chun could not be bothered to pursue. He quickly formed hand seals and absorbed the demonic nature in the thunderclouds, condensing a demonic cloud seed. I don't believe that you can receive another sword strike from me. The skinny man roared, and scales appeared on his face. Then, he sent another sword strike at Xiao Chun. 3, 2, 1. When that sword strike was less than half a meter away from Xiao Chun, the demonic cloud seed finally condensed. The demonic cloud bird image behind Xiao Chun entered Xiao Chen's body, and thousands of strands of black demonic light entered at the same time. The black light gathered in the spot of black light above Xiao Chen's dantian. However, at this moment, the skinny man's sword light was less than 3 centimeters away from Xiao Chun. Blue dragon divine wings. In the time it took for a spark to fly, the blue dragon divine wings behind Xiao Chun unfurled. The wings spanned 30 meters and flapped ferociously. Electric light spread out as Xiao Chun turned into a beam of light and arrived behind the skinny man. Xiao Chun instantly drew the tyrant saber. The purple tyrant saber successfully pierced through the other party's water barrier and scales, sending up black blood. However, the skinny man only managed to hit the afterimage that Xiao Chun left behind. The skinny man let out a miserable shriek, revealing a pained expression. The scales on his face turned back into patterns. Whoosh! When the skinny man drew the tyrant saber, blood spurted out again, and the skinny man cried out miserably. Not daring to turn around, the skinny man plunged downwards, trying to flee this place. Xiao Chun sheathed his saber, revealing a suspicious expression. What is that? There's a fiendish demon aura in his body. However, the black scales and the horn on his forehead seemed to have some dragon race bloodline. The person who fled was rather strong, so Xiao Chun did not intend to give chase. However, Xiao Chun did not intend to let the other strange man fighting the demon blood vulture go. Chapter 1864. Xiao Chun looked at the faintly discernible scaled man flying about in the clouds. After carefully observing for a moment, the azure-colored dragon wings on Xiao Chun's back flapped ferociously. Violent winds blew, rolling up boundless thunderclouds. In the next moment, Xiao Chun appeared in front of the scaled man, blocking his path of retreat. The scaled man was slightly startled. He did not expect Xiao Chun to suddenly appear and block his path of escape. Damn it, I'll fight it out with you. Boom! An astonishing power of thunder erupted from his body. The radiance was resplendent, and the water rippled faintly. The resplendent lightning contained a frightening power. Once this kind of monster erupted, it would be quite troublesome to deal with. Xiao Chun didn't want to retreat anymore. He didn't want to let this person go. Xiao Chun snorted coldly and drew his purple tyrant saber. Starlight flickered in his eyes. The star venerate will merged with the saber, and the primal chaos veritable essence energy circulated. In that instant, the saber lit up with a resplendent saber light. Aside from the resplendent saber light, there was only black and white in the thunderclouds. With a loud bang, the scaled man was sent flying by Xiao Chen's saber. The demon blood vulture cackled strangely. Then it opened its mouth and quickly swallowed this scaled man. Awesome. Who asked you to jump around? You still ended up being eaten by me. The demon blood vulture felt incredibly excited after swallowing up this strange scaled man. Xiao Chun watched this scene in shock. As he looked at the demon blood vulture's raised head, he smacked it hard. Without waiting for the other party's explanation, Zhang Xian turned him into a ring and sealed him up temporarily. What an idiot, Xiao Chun pondered for a long time. This scaled man was indeed strange. He had some low-level dragon bloodline and the aura of a fiendish demon. Unable to think of a reason, Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he rushed out of the clouds. At this moment, the sky was already bright. It had already been a night since he left. Xiao Chun did not dare to stay for too long, and hurried back to the Marquis's mansion. After asking the little monk, Xiao Chen learned that the soaring dragon Marquis and the others had not come to look for him. It looked like the matter of Monarch you would have to end for now. However, during this period of time, he still had to stay in the Marquis's mansion and concentrate on cultivating. It was better to be careful. After setting up a spirit gathering array in the cultivation room in the courtyard, Xiao Chun sat cross-legged in the eye of the array. Xiao Chun looked into his body and saw that a demonic cloud seed had formed above his dantian. Blood drop seal. In accordance with the demonic cloud heaven swallowing art, Xiao Chen's hands formed a blood drop seal. His heart shattered, and a drop of his heart's blood slowly fell, emitting a strange bloody light. As Xiao Chen's hands landed, his hands continued to move, continuously infusing his soul energy, veritable essence energy, and vital qi into them. This caused the heart blood to shine brilliantly and emit an intense bloody glow. The intensity of the light even seeped out of his body, covering Xiao Chen's body with a layer of bloody light. If an outsider was here, they would be able to tell with a single glance. What Xiao Chen cultivated was definitely not some orthodox cultivation method. Xiao, this drop of heart blood, which contained Xiao Chen's soul, quintessential essence, and vital qi, landed accurately on the demonic cloud seed. The scarlet light entered it. It instantly vanished, and the black demonic cloud changed color, turning a faint scarlet. The demonic cloud seed formally formed. As Xiao Chen cultivated, this demonic cloud seed turned into a demonic cloud bird, living in Xiao Chen's body. This process was no different from the birth of the true demonic cloud bird during the Great Desolate Aeon. At first, the demonic cloud bird was just a demonic cloud infused with the primal chaos god demon bloodline. Then, it evolved into the heaven-swallowing demonic cloud bird. However, now, the primal chaos god demon bloodline was Xiao Chen's, which was much weaker. However, Xiao Chen's bloodline was much stronger than the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's. Xiao Chen had the rank 8 blue dragon bloodline in his body. While the power of this bloodline was not unrivaled, it was definitely unparalleled. The demonic cloud seed infused with the heart's blood became even more demonic, like it was nurturing life. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen could vaguely hear a heartbeat. It was exceptionally strong and contained vast life force. Mission accomplished. Xiao Chen's hand seals changed, forming the heaven-swallowing seal to assist in his cultivation. The spirit gathering formation activated, and the spiritual energy it contained entered the demonic cloud seed at an incredible speed in the span of a breath. After that, the demonic cloud seed breathed and turned into pure demonic qi veritable essence energy that flowed into the 9-star primal core. Because Xiao Chen had not cultivated for the past few days, his demonic qi veritable essence energy was at a clear disadvantage. Unable to balance the spiritual energy and veritable essence energy, Xiao Chen could not bring out the Taiji force field. The Taiji Dao emphasized balance. Once the balance was broken, Xiao Chen could not bring out the Taiji force field. After about 7 minutes, the 100 medial grade spirit jades in the spirit gathering formation were drained. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and frowned slightly. This was the disadvantage of demonic Dao cultivation techniques. The stronger the demonic Dao cultivation technique, the more horrifying its expenditure would be than a righteous Dao cultivation technique. If this continued, who knew when he could successfully cultivate the demonic cloud, heaven-swallowing art's first layer? After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen took out superior grade spirit jades this time and placed them in the indentations of the formation's nodes. Superior grade spirit jades were exceptionally rare, much more valuable than medial grade spirit jades. Xiao Chen had only managed to find some in the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's treasure trove, but there were not many. There were less than 100,000 superior grade spirit jades, which were exceptionally rare. Normally, Xiao Chen could not bear to use them. However, now that he cultivated the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art, he had to use them. Time passed quickly, day after day. It had been more than 2 months since Xiao Chen fought with Monarch at the drill ground. In the past 2 months, several Long Clan disciples came to seek an audience. They wanted to befriend Xiao Chun or ask for pointers on saber techniques or archery. However, Xiao Chun refused to meet them. Time was tight. Xiao Chun needed to go to the Divine Dragon Empire soon. How could he waste time on this? However, the little monk jumped out and happily accepted the Long Clan disciples' attentions. Back then, the little monk swept through Monarch Yu's subordinates and suppressed 2 holy venerates, leaving a deep impression on everyone. Several Long Clan disciples also felt admiration for the little monk. Knowing that the little monk was willing to guide them, they all felt excited. Unfortunately, not everyone could be as calm as Xiao Chun, able to calmly face the misfortune attribute of the little monk. While he was practicing with the little monk on the drill ground, all sorts of accidents happened to the disciples of the Long family. In just 7 days, more than half of the Long family's disciples had crippled themselves. No one dared to look for the little monk anymore. The little monk felt bored. He could only lead the demon blood vulture around the Marquis's residence. Those who saw them were afraid, and those who saw them would run. In the Marquis's mansion was really the tyrant. He was even more domineering than the eldest young master of the Marquis Manor. He entertained himself and was quite happy. This caused everyone in the Marquis's residence to suffer unspeakably. They all complained to Long Yin, wanting this little overlord to leave as soon as possible. Long Yin smiled bitterly. It was clearly impossible for him to persuade them to leave. On this day, an old monk arrived at the entrance of the manor. He wore gray monk robes and a kasaya draped over his shoulders. His eyebrows and beard were all white, and he held a magic staff in his hand. When the Soaring Dragon Marquis heard the news, he led the upper echelon of the Marquis's residence and his heirs out to personally welcome them. Venerable Su Yun, sorry for the wait. When facing this seemingly ordinary old monk, the Soaring Dragon Marquis used the Buddhist sex etiquette to show respect. May the Lord Buddha bless you. Lord Marquis is too polite. That little disciple of mine did not cause trouble for the Marquis's residence, right? The Venerable Su Yun said with a benevolent smile as he bowed slightly and returned the greeting with one hand. Someone in the Marquis's residence immediately wanted to speak and list the little monk's crimes. However, the Soaring Dragon Marquis stopped him with a look. He said softly, "The child is a little mischievous. It is not a big deal. Venerable, there is no need to worry." This was an esteemed monk of the Hidden Spirit Temple, someone that even the Yin Emperor and the Yellow Emperor respected. "Ha ha ha. Master, you finally came. I am very happy in this Marquis's residence. I eat well and sleep well. If you had still not come, I would have stayed here for a long time." A berserk scarlet wind blew above, accompanied by cheerful laughter. The little monk rode the demon blood vulture and appeared before everyone. Whoosh! Whoosh! The little monk pushed the demon blood vulture's speed to its limits, kicking up a strong wind that howled endlessly. Clang! The Marquis's residence's signboard on the gates fell off. This startled Long Yin, causing his expression to change drastically. He quickly soared into the air and caught the signboard. The little monk landed on the ground. When he saw this scene, an awkward expression appeared on his face. "Sorry, big brother Long. Let me help you hang it up." The little monk quickly walked over and grabbed the Marquis's residence's signboard, wanting to make up for his mistake. Long Yin quickly said, "There's no need. There's really no need. It's fine. It's what I should do." Crack! A huge force pulled the signboard in half, breaking in the middle. Everyone in the Marquis's residence turned green. Even the Soaring Dragon Marquis's lips twitched involuntarily. Breaking someone's signboard was no less than killing one's father. The signboard of the Marquis's residence represented the Long clan's reputation for at least 1,000 years. It already involved the clan's luck. To any clan, breaking a signboard was something unbearable. When the demon blood vulture saw this scene, it laughed maniacally in its heart. "Who asked you to torture me all the time? Now, you are in for a treat." The little monk felt incredibly embarrassed. The Soaring Dragon Marquis had not seen his master for a long time. The moment he saw him, he caused quite a bit of trouble. The venerable Su Yun's expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "It looks like it cannot be fake. You are really my obedient disciple. If Lord Marquis does not mind, this old monk will write a new signboard for the Marquis's residence to express my apologies." The soaring dragon Marquis immediately rejoiced in his heart, overjoyed. The venerable Su Yun's cultivation was so high that even the soaring dragon Marquis could not figure it out. If the venerable Su Yun put some effort into the words he left, they would rival a soul tool. What was even rarer was that the venerable Su Yun was an esteemed monk of the Buddhist sect. His cultivation of the Buddhist Dharma was unparalleled in the world. Naturally, the venerable Su Yun would receive the protection of the Buddhist sect's wishes. This in itself was a kind of blessing. According to rumor, there were several signboards in the royal palace's courtyard. The royal clan had personally asked the esteemed monks of the Hidden Spirit Temple to write them. This was equivalent to receiving the royal treatment. "Venerable, this way, please." The soaring dragon Marquis led the venerable Su Yun into the Marquis's residence. The little monk felt very depressed as he followed on the demon blood vulture. Occasionally, the demon blood vulture would smack the demon blood vulture's head. However, when the venerable Su Yun thought about the consequences of doing so, he helplessly endured. The venerable Su Yun was an esteemed monk of the Buddhist sect. When he chatted happily with the soaring dragon Marquis, he immediately left behind a calligraphy treasure. The disciples of the Long family who were fortunate enough to be present to observe were all extremely shocked. It was said that every word that Master Su Yun wrote, it was said that with every word the venerable Su Yun wrote, Buddhist chanting rang out, and a five-colored treasure light poured out, shocking everyone. After leaving behind the calligraphy treasure, the little monk led the venerable Su Yun to Xiao Chen's cultivation room. Chapter 1865. In the cultivation room, Xiao Chen had been in seclusion for 2 months. Time was of the essence, and he wanted to make the best use of his time to master the first layer of the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. In just 2 short months, Xiao Chen had already spent 10,000 of the 100,000 superior grade spirit jades. If it were medial grade spirit jades, the number of medial grade spirit jades would probably reach 10 million. Furthermore, it didn't have such an effect, and the time it took was much longer. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen had already failed to cultivate the first layer of the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. According to the book, the demon cloud bird tattoo would appear on one's back after successfully cultivating the first stage. Demonic path true essence could transform one's body, physique, soul, and will. However, 2 months of bitter cultivation was not without gains. The demonic cloud above his dantian had already begun to unfurl, and the embryonic form of a cloud had appeared. It was no longer just a black dot. The life force of the scarlet demonic cloud had become even stronger. Over the past 2 months, Xiao Chen could feel his soul being constantly devoured by the demonic clouds. This demonic cloud seed was probably not as simple as what was recorded in the secret manual. There would be many mysteries beyond his imagination. At this time, the demonic nature within Xiao Chen's body suddenly erupted, and the demonic true essence within his body flooded his entire body. Black demonic light flowed out of his body as he opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with demonic nature. Although Xiao Chen's physical body had been modified by the Mahesvara Buddha Sarira, he could cultivate a demonic Tao cultivation technique and merge it with the immemorial demon soul formation. The demonic nature in his body had already penetrated deep into his bones and blood vessels. It was inevitable. This was the instinctive reaction of the devil after encountering its natural enemy. At this moment, he was cultivating demonic arts to begin with, so the demonic nature of his body took over at this moment. However, a moment later, the Buddha nature contained in the deepest parts of his organs, limbs, and bones. It turned into a gentle breeze and spread out from his body, dispelling the dominance of the demonic nature over his physical body. All of this happened without Xiao Chen's control. It was all an automatic reaction of his body. Looking at it from this angle, It also proved that Xiao Qin's dual cultivation of magic and martial arts had yet to reach the point where he could control them as he pleased. It was like walking on a tightrope above a cliff. It was extremely dangerous. Closing his eyes again, Xiao Qun released his soul power to see what was going on. Within Xiao Qin's perception, everyone in the Marquis's residence was instantly detected by Xiao Qun. Everyone was a flickering dot of light. The flow of quintessence in the bodies of the weaker ones could be clearly seen, clearly imprinted in their minds. As for holy venerables, they were like a ball of burning flames. Unless one used their soul power to sense them, they would not be able to sense them. Otherwise, he would only be able to see this blurry ball of flame. As his soul power swept across, there were 3 flames that were particularly eye-catching. A ball of blazing flames gave off a terrifying aura that rushed into the sky. There was also a faint king's might within it, and a mysterious dragon fate covered it. Xiao Chang could not detect this person at all. Without a doubt, it was the soaring dragon Marquis himself. There was also a clump of flame that was about the same size as the soaring dragon Marquis. However, it seemed lethargic. This should be a hidden sovereign personage expert of the Marquis's residence. As for the third cluster, it was the karma that caused a demonic aura in Xiao Qin's body to erupt. That was a clump of flame that gave off pure Buddhist might. It was like a lamp, not dazzling or eye-catching. It only slowly burned, and the flames drifted about. Only the flame's heart remained fixed, unchanging since ancient times. It was like the flame in this flame's heart had existed since the world was created, never extinguishing. Beside this flame was a clump of mixed black flames. It looked very mighty and overwhelming with demonic might. However, when one looked carefully, one could see the core of this black flame, the pure flame's heart without any impurities. This was the little monk Yin Shun, who had committed overwhelming sins but had a Buddhist heart and wielded the Buddhist sect's commandment saber. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and roughly understood what was going on. The little monk's master came with him. Not daring to delay, Xiao Chen stopped circulating his energy and walked out of his room. Then, he went to the courtyard to personally welcome the little monk. "Big brother, my master is here." The little monk rode on the demon blood vulture and happily led the way, introducing Xiao Chen to him. The venerable Su Yun smiled faintly and said softly, "I have long heard of Benefactor Zhao's name. Today, I finally get to see it for myself." Xiao Chen rubbed his nose and smiled. "Venerable, you must be joking. Long heard of it. I just arrived in the Central Great Realm not long ago. It has only been 2 months since I arrived in this soaring dragon Marquis. Although I caused a commotion, my fame only spread within the soaring dragon Marquis, far from spreading in the Yanwu dynasty. I'm not joking. A monk does not lie. I met Benefactor Xiao 17 years ago." The venerable Su Yun smiled mysteriously but did not elaborate. Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. 17 years ago was when he first met the Mahesvara Buddha. Could it be that when the Mahesvara Buddha turned around, some mysterious phenomenon happened, allowing this venerable to see me? "Yin Shun, you already told me about your situation. Can this old monk take a look at you?" The venerable Su Yun asked softly to Xiao Chun after he was let in. Xiao Chun glanced at the little monk. When he saw the little monk's innocent expression, he knew that the little monk was worried about him. Something happened to his dual cultivation of righteous and demonic. Hence, Xiao Chun got his master to check on Xiao Chen for him. "That's fine. If I can get some pointers or find some hidden dangers, it will be a gain." Xiao Chen nodded and lowered his guard. Then, he said softly, "As you wish." The venerable Su Yin put down his staff, and a vertical eye suddenly opened on his forehead. This was an extremely strong magic skill of the Buddhist sects, the heavenly eye. According to rumor, when the heavenly eye was cultivated to its limits, one could see not only space and time, but also the river of fate, becoming the heavenly Tao. One could comprehend the past and the future, knowing the karma of the past and present. Xiao Chun felt speechless. Since the heavenly eye was open, whether he agreed or not, the venerable Su Yun would see everything he wanted to see. The venerable Su Yun gave off a faint Buddhist light, giving off a mysterious energy similar to the one the heavenly book scholar once showed. A beam of golden light shot out of the heavenly eye and encased Xiao Chun. Time and space flickered. The various cultivation techniques that Xiao Chun cultivated in the past and the various hardships that his physical body experienced appeared. However, the venerable Su Yun's heavenly eye did not check Xiao Chen's soul pool. He only wanted to check if Xiao Chen's body had any hidden dangers and give pointers. The venerable Su Yun did not want to dig out all of Xiao Chen's secrets. Actually, even if he did not check his soul pool, if Xiao Chun saw the scene in the venerable Su Yun's eyes, he would still feel shocked and amazed. They would also feel shocked and surprised, no different from being seen through. After a while, the vertical eye on the venerable Su Yun's forehead slowly closed. "Master, how is it? Is my big brother fine?" The little monk asked out of concern before Xiao Chun could say anything, appearing even more anxious than Xiao Chun. The venerable Su Yun smiled and said, "Benefactor Xiao is doing very well now, even better than this old monk. His life force flourishes boundlessly. His physical body does not have any major problems. All sorts of fortuitous encounters in karma are truly startling. His fate with Buddhism is enviable." The little monk said happily, "That's good. Otherwise, if I leave and we meet again in the future, Big Brother will look completely different. I will not be able to accept that." Xiao Chun found this strange. He asked, "Venerable, I once heard that dual cultivating righteous and demonic Tao is a great taboo in the righteous Tao. This is especially so in the Buddhist sect. It is also a taboo in the demonic Tao. Why is Senior so calm about it?" The venerable Su Yun smiled faintly and asked, "Let me ask you, what epoch is it now?" "Naturally, it is the martial epoch. The demonic Tao cultivation techniques and the righteous Tao cultivation techniques look very different, even intensely conflicting. In reality, they are inseparable from the word martial. They come from the same source. Why can't we cultivate them at the same time?" This was the first time someone asked Xiao Chen this question, so he did not know how to answer. The venerable Su Yun said sullenly, "Actually, you already know the answer in your heart. There is no need to hesitate. Be it Buddhist, demonic, or righteous Tao, it does not matter. If you can distinguish your heart, it does not matter." Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. The venerable Su Yun's words swept away the final doubts and lack of confidence in his heart. This would allow him to be even more determined on this path. "Many thanks for Senior's pointers." The venerable Su Yun looked into the distance as he looked at Xiao Chun. Then he said, "The reason why the righteous Tao and demonic Tao oppose, it is easy to explain. The conflict between the two factions is intense. They do not get along like fire and water. After several battles between the righteous Tao and demonic Tao, the two factions became mortal enemies. How can they accept people who dual cultivate righteous and demonic Tao? Since you chose this path, the future will be difficult. Please be mentally prepared." Xiao Chen nodded to indicate that he understood. "Actually, there's another reason. Why can't the two factions accept people who dual cultivate righteous and demonic Tao? Why? Because they are too strong. They are feared by others. There have been many people who dual cultivate righteous and demonic Tao in history. However, they did not walk to the end. In the end, they all made a choice. Otherwise, it would be hard to distinguish their heart, and they could only choose one side." The venerable Su Yun's tone was calm, but he revealed a startling secret to Xiao Chun. "I know of a total of 3 people. One is the Kasayapa Buddha. Actually, he dual cultivated Buddhism and demonic Tao. However, the moment he became a Buddha, he abandoned his demonic Tao and started the age of Buddhism. The second is a certain dragon race blood-soaked emperor. However, he eventually fell into the demonic Tao and took another path." This stunned Xiao Chun slightly. He could not hide his expression. This was simply too shocking. Back then, the blood-soaked dragon emperor dual cultivated righteous and demonic Tao. However, he did not walk to the end and fell into the demonic Tao. Suddenly, Xiao Chun somewhat understood why the Blue Dragon bloodline was completely destroyed. The third is the creator of the Mahaya abstinence violation saber technique. He is a Buddhist sect genius, rarely seen in thousands of years. Unfortunately, I found out later that he was the Black Lotus demonic ancestor's reincarnation. However, in the end, he made a different decision. He abandoned the demonic Tao and saved the Buddhist sect, directly leading to the Black Lotus Church's decline. Chapter 1866. As the Venerable Su Yun spoke softly, he casually revealed some startling secrets. When Xiao Chun heard this, he felt somewhat shocked, unable to recover his wits for a while. It was understandable that the Kasyapa Buddha dual cultivated the demonic Tao and martial Tao. If one understood the Buddhist scriptures, one would know that Buddhism was emotionless. If not for the Kasyapa Buddha cultivating demonic Tao cultivation techniques, he would not have left behind Buddhist Tao martial techniques that countered demonic Tao cultivation techniques. It was impossible for the Kasyapa Buddha to appear out of thin air. One had to know its origin and understand its principles. However, this Kasyapa Buddha was too far away from Xiao Chun. Even if he knew, he would not feel anything. The main reason was the blood-soaked martial emperor. Right now, a strand of the blood-soaked martial emperor's remnant soul was in Xiao Chen's body. No wonder the blood-soaked dragon emperor quickly fell asleep after waking up. It must have had something to do with Xiao Chun entering the demonic Tao. Xiao Chun felt somewhat confused now. The blood-soaked dragon emperor entered the demonic Tao. The Qing emperor entered the demonic Tao. Eventually, Xiao Chun also entered the demonic Tao. Was there really fate in the unseen world? This was too much of a coincidence. The reviver of the Blue Dragon race was destined to enter the demonic Tao. When Xiao Chun suddenly thought of this, he felt a chill run down his spine. If not for the enlightenment he gained when he faced the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's faux god flame, he would not have been able to escape. If not for the enlightenment he gained when facing the Scarlet Blood Pirate King's faux god flame, he might have ended up on the same path as the Qing Emperor, sinking into the demonic Tao. Unknowingly, he would have taken the same path as the Qing Emperor. Fortunately, Xiao Chun managed to walk out in the end and figure out his own heart. What was even more unexpected was that the last person was related to Xiao Chun. The creator of the Mahaya abstinence violation saber technique actually dual cultivated Buddhism and the demonic Tao. Furthermore, he caused the Black Lotus Church's decline. What was more terrifying was that this person was actually the Black Lotus demonic ancestor's reincarnation. What I told you are secrets and taboos. Little friend, do not spread them. The Venerable Su Yun instructed softly, his tone grave. Xiao Chun recovered his wits and nodded. Understand. However, the first two people already told me their identities. This third person is Patriarch Black Lotus's reincarnation. Why didn't he tell me his identity? Venerable Su Yun smiled faintly and said, Benefactor, you really listened carefully. This third person's identity is very complicated. His descendant now has a powerful faction. It's better not to know about it, lest we get into some unnecessary trouble. Moreover, this person can be considered to have realized his mistake and turned back. It's really rare. So mysterious? The more this was so, the more Xiao Chun felt curious about the creator of the Mahaya abstinence violation saber technique. However, since Great Master Su Yun did not say, Xiao Chun naturally would not ask. Venerable Su Yun smiled and said, My obedient disciple, you have taken care of me during this period. You obtained a great fortuitous encounter. As your master, I do not have any gift to thank you. I can only bestow you a finger as a token of my sincerity. Xiao. Right after Venerable Su Yun spoke, he tapped Xiao Chen's forehead with his finger. An extremely vast energy poured into Xiao Chen's body. Kacha. Xiao Chen's bones crackled like soybeans being fried, crackling nonstop. After a while, when Venerable Su Yun released his finger, Xiao Chun immediately felt refreshed, and his body became much lighter. What was more pleasant was that he felt his physical body break through some kind of shackle. With a thought, dragon roars came from Xiao Chen's body. Vital qi surged like a surging river or the sea. Xiao Chen easily gathered 25 cauldron force. This, Xiao Chen revealed joy on his face. Venerable Su Yun's finger helped him break through the bottleneck of 20 cauldron force. The rest was flat, saving Xiao Chen a lot of effort. Whoosh! Xiao Chen spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. He felt that some of the hidden ailments in his body vanished with this finger. What was even rarer was that Venerable Su Yun's finger contained a Buddhist might that was extremely compatible with the Mahasvara Buddha's, Sarira's Buddhist nature in Xiao Chen's physical body. This invisibly raised Xiao Chen's Buddha nature. This gentle finger was truly wondrous, benefiting Xiao Chen greatly. Thank you, Senior. Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute. Venerable Su Yun shook his head and said, "It's just a small matter. It is far inferior to what you gave Yin Shen. I'll give you another page of the Hidden Spirit Temple's golden letter. In the future, if someone from the Buddhist sect makes things difficult for you, you can take it out." When Xiao Chen received it, he discovered that it was not much different from the one that the Venerable Xianbei gave. However, the inscription was changed to the Hidden Spirit Temple, which immediately changed its value. Its rarity was no longer the same. It's time to go our separate ways. You still have some secrets on you. Although I didn't look at them, I still have some secrets. Although this old monk did not look at them, I can sense that they are an untouchable and unexplored power. They are very precious. Venerable Su Yun bowed with one hand as a form of farewell. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. There's still secrets? Is it because of the Sky Dome Immortal Lord's reincarnation? Xiao Chen could not be bothered to think too much about it. He kept feeling that the secrets of immortals were too distant from him, so he did not want to touch them. Big brother, I'm so sad. I wonder when we will meet again. The little monk appeared somewhat sorrowful. Such an expression on his tender face was simply too cute. However, when the little monk thought of something, he gently rubbed the demon blood vulture's head. Then he smiled and said, "Silly bird, I see that your comprehension ability is pretty good. Come back to the temple with me and enter the Buddhist sect. In the future, you could be a protector holy beast." It was rare for the little monk to pet it like this, scaring the demon blood vulture significantly. Its body immediately shrank and turned into a flash of scarlet light. Then, it took the initiative to turn into a ring on Xiao Chen's finger. How can this great me become a monk? Even if you beat me to death, I will not do it. Master, please don't give me away. I will even be a cow or a horse by your side. The little monk nearly caused the demon blood vulture to crumble. When it heard that Xiao Chen wanted to go to the Hidden Spirit Temple with him, it immediately became frightened. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Little monk, stop scaring it." Yin Shen's lips curled up as he said, "I am giving it an opportunity. Forget it if it doesn't want to." Xiao Chen looked at the Venerable Su Yun and said, "Honestly speaking, the little monk has karma with me. I also thank Venerable for taking care of the little monk for the past 10-odd years." The Venerable Su Yun narrowed his eyes and smiled. This old monk understands what benefactor is saying. He is the blessing of my Buddhist sect. How can I not take good care of him? Benefactor, if you have time in the future, you can come to the Hidden Spirit Temple as a guest. Not long after Xiao Chen parted reluctantly, another honored guest arrived at the courtyard that had been deserted for a long time. It was the soaring dragon Marquis, accompanied by Long Yin. However, Lan Luo was nowhere to be seen. Seeing the other party's expression, Xiao Chen knew that it was time for him to leave. The soaring dragon Marquis was here to send off the guest. "Young Master Xiao, it is time to send you to the Divine Dragon Empire," the soaring dragon Marquis said in a respectful tone. Xiao Chen said politely, "Thank you, Lord Marquis. Please, there are some things that the two already knew. Monarchy's matter was already settled." Along the way, the soaring dragon Marquis was very polite to Xiao Chen. If word of the soaring dragon Marquis personally giving it to a junior got out, the entire soaring dragon Marquis would be shocked. After boarding a Marquis' residence's warship, Xiao Chen's group left the Marquis' residence and flew out of the city. From the start to the end, Lan Luo did not appear. Xiao Chun could not help feeling that it was unfortunate. This is fine as well. Xiao Chun sighed in his heart. There were some feelings where rejection would hurt, but acceptance would hurt even more. The Marquis's residence's warship flew increasingly higher. The soaring dragon Marquis grew increasingly smaller in Xiao Chen's eyes. This parting would not last long. Xiao Chun believed that he would definitely return to the Yinwu dynasty. This short stay was like a dragonfly skimming the water. He did not get to experience the vast Yinwu dynasty at all, the dynasty's outstanding talents and the sect elites. Xiao Chun did not get to see any of the legendary monarch experts. This was very unfortunate. However, he would definitely return to the Yinwu dynasty sooner or later and meet the true elites and outstanding talents of the Central Great Realm. Xiao Chun wanted to experience the resplendent and dazzling outstanding talents of this age of the martial Dao. The soaring dragon Marquis stood beside Xiao Chun. After thinking for a long time, he suddenly said, "I was the one who watched you perform your saber that night." Xiao Chun was not surprised. Only a few people in the Marquis's residence had the strength to approach him without him noticing. "I did not mean to injure Lord Marquis. Please forgive me." The soaring dragon Marquis's lips curled up in a smile as he said, "However, it has been many years since anyone managed to injure me. Although I was careless, I cannot deny your strength. If possible, I would really like to keep you in the army and make you my general." After gaining the soaring dragon Marquis's recognition and high regard, Xiao Chun felt rather happy. "Many thanks for Lord Marquis's praise. It is just the truth. It is not really a praise." As Xiao Chun watched the city get further away, the land before him grew increasingly desolate. Feeling it strange, he asked, "Where are we going?" "The military camp." Chapter 1867. A military camp? Xiao Chun revealed a doubtful expression. Could it be that the transportation formation to the Divine Dragon Empire isn't a military camp? Seeing the doubt in Xiao Chen's eyes, the soaring dragon Marquis explained, "The dynasty's trans-realm transportation formation is controlled by the Yin Emperor Palace. They allow entry but not exit. The access requirements are very high, and the number of times it can be opened is limited. Although I can use it, it will be somewhat problematic if I bring you along. After thinking about it, I brought you to the military camp, using the transportation formation on my Scarlet Blood army." Xiao Chun asked out of curiosity, "There are transportation formations in the military camp as well?" The soaring dragon Marquis replied calmly, "That is natural. The formation masters that the dynasty's Tai institution raised were not raised for nothing. They weren't raised for nothing. They had invented a portable teleportation formation a long time ago. All they needed to do was prepare a few specially made war chariots. When you want to use it, you just need to insert the formation flags and activate it with spirit jades. When the battle starts, we can retreat, and it's also convenient to deploy troops." The Soaring Dragon Province was the northernmost province of the Yinwu dynasty's 108 provinces. The Soaring Dragon Marquis's clan had been generals guarding the borders for many generations. Historically, there had been an ancestor of the Soaring Dragon Marquis who had been conferred the title of Marquis of a different surname. However, among the 108 marquises, the Soaring Dragon Marquis still held military authority. They held high authority and were rather special. This was why Duke Yun favored the Soaring Dragon Marquis and wanted to marry him. Upon hearing the Soaring Dragon Marquis make it sound so serious, Xiao Chun felt somewhat surprised. To think that there was still a need for war. Xiao Chun asked casually, "The Yinwu dynasty is so strong. Are there still enemies who dare to offend it?" The Soaring Dragon Marquis showed a grave expression as he replied softly, "The Central Great Realm is not as peaceful as you imagine. The age of fiendish demon chaos was long ago, only recorded in ancient books. However, the last war between the righteous factions and the demonic factions was not that long ago, just 10,000 years ago. Furthermore, although the Yinwu dynasty is strong, it is vast and boundless. There are always places beyond our reach. Take the North, for example. The greatest enemy is the innately warlike and uncivilized barbarians. They frequently harass the borders. The place where the barbarians are established is a dangerous environment. Poisonous gas pervades the air, and spiritual energy is thin. It's hard for Dynasty to unleash their advantage in numbers, so we can't eliminate them. If we let Yin Huang lead the troops personally, it would be too much of fuss. It's obviously not suitable. The soaring dragon Marquis paused for a moment, and then he said in a deep voice, "However, although the barbarian race is troublesome, it is not a great threat. After all, they're just a group of uncivilized barbarians, and they will not amount to much." From his words, it seemed like there was an even more terrifying enemy. That was the real threat. Xiao Chun didn't ask any more questions. Below him, he could already see the barracks. Huh, huh, huh. At the garrison, there were soldiers drilling in formation. Waves of loud shouts, full of energy, gathered together. His voice shook the heavens, and vaguely, there were even strange phenomena accompanying it. It made people feel dizzy, and the blood in their bodies flowed faster. His heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was going to jump out of his chest. These soldiers were all elite martial artists. Although their cultivations were not high, they were still extremely powerful. However, there were many of them, and every one of them was a decisive killer. Boundless killing intent was hidden within their bodies. Under the unified training, their essence, qi, and spirit condensed into one. Their chests filled with a breath of air, and they shouted and roared at the same time. Their voices were vast and mighty, and their auras rushed to the clouds. These soldiers were not a motley crew. An individual's martial prowess seemed insignificant before this sea-like aura. As Xiao Chan observed the scarlet blood army's drill below, he somewhat overturned his traditional understanding of the army. Originally, he believed that no matter how many major primal core venerates there were, they would just end up being slaughtered when they ran into a holy venerate. No matter how many came, they would all die. The dynasty's army was a dispensable existence. It did not have much meaning. However, Xiao Chan felt somewhat different now. There were so many venerables. When they were polished into a steel lion, they had a terrifying cohesiveness, strong willpower, and a murderous aura. When combined, just the shouts of essence, qi, and spirit, and the gathering of qi and qi could scatter a holy venerate's attack. Before such might, a lone holy venerate seemed too insignificant. Furthermore, they could lay formations, use war chariots, and use formation flags. After many years of bitter training and killing, they forged a true army of tigers and wolves. Any powerhouse who saw such an army would have to retreat. After thinking about it, this was actually the principle of quantitative change leading to qualitative change. Something that looked insignificant could change qualitatively when it reached a certain amount. The Scarlet Blood Army was at the border, a desolate and uninhabited place. The environment there was very harsh. Occasionally, officers organized soldiers. They entered the surrounding mountains, hunted ferocious beasts, and trained the soldiers. The Marquis's residence's warship slowly landed. A large number of warships were parked here. Their banners fluttered in the wind, looking very majestic. Lord Marquis, first young master. The moment the Marquis stepped out of the warship, a group of armored generals immediately walked over with large strides. The generals had to straighten their backs and walk with heavy steps. When they walked, their armor clanged against each other. The soaring dragon Marquis nodded indifferently. Then he said casually, "Long Yin, bring Xiao Chun to take a look around the army. Then send him off. Don't delay him." "Yes, father." The soaring dragon Marquis looked like he still had many things to deal with. After giving some instructions, he left in a hurry. The group of generals hurriedly followed and reported what had happened recently. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense was sharp, so he heard some of it. "Lord Marquis, the underground demons have been appearing frequently recently. It is somewhat strange. I feel that we need to bring some people to sweep them out. It is almost winter, and those barbarians are not behaving. They tried to cross the border several times, and many of our brothers died. The royal court's recent supplies have not arrived yet. We have to send people to rush them. These were all important military matters. That group of people walked hastily, moving further away. Soon, Xiao Chan could no longer hear anything. Long Yin said, "Young Master Xiao, if you are in a rush to leave, I can bring you directly to the transportation formation. If you're not in a rush, you can also take a look around the army." Let's take a look then. This was Xiao Chen's first time entering a military camp, so he felt somewhat curious. Normally, a military camp would not allow outsiders to view its important places. However, the soaring dragon marquis did not treat Xiao Chen as an outsider and was exceptionally kind to him. Naturally, Xiao Chen would not miss out on such an opportunity. Being deep in a military camp, Xiao Chen could not help but compare it to a martial Dao sect. In a certain sense, the two were somewhat similar. They were both places where cultivators gathered. However, the difference was also very clear. The greatest impression that Xiao Chen got from the military was the exceptionally strict discipline. Every soldier was like all sorts of precise components. Only when they were combined could they bring out their greatest might. They did not allow any mistakes to occur in any of the segments. Under such circumstances, uniformity stifled individuality. Clearly, it was not suitable for the inheritance of the martial Dao. However, an individual's strength and willpower would improve rapidly in the midst of killing. However, one's comprehension ability and spirituality might be slowly erased in the army. In comparison, sects had a lot of freedom and emphasized individual martial prowess. Regardless of the rank of the various large sects, their structure was very similar. Through the selection of outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples, core disciples, and true inheritors, the most outstanding ones would be picked out. This ensured that the people with outstanding talent and comprehension ability could stand out and bring out their potential to the greatest extent. Just in terms of the martial Dao, sects were clearly more suitable for inheritances and could produce powerful experts more easily. This was also the reason why many nobles would send their children to sections. Comparing the two, each had its advantages and disadvantages. Both had their reasons for existing. 10-odd war chariots formed a procession on the main road, attracting Xiao Chen's attention. The war chariots carried corpses, the trophies of the soldiers. Unlike the ferocious beasts from before, the corpses on these war chariots were all humanoid corpses. More accurately, many of them were the scale monsters that Xiao Chen met in the thunderclouds that day. Xiao Chen pointed to the corpses on the war chariots and asked, "What are these?" Long Yin looked in the direction that Xiao Chen pointed and explained, "These are a type of underground demon, flood dragon humans." Underground demon? That's right. Back then, after the fiendish demons were defeated by the sages, they vanished without a trace. However, the descendants of the fiendish demons survived and occupied the abyssal underworld. This is also commonly known as the underground world. These descendants of the fiendish demons are collectively known as earth demons. Long Yin nodded and continued. The abyssal underworld has a total of 9 layers, inhabited by 9 underworld monarchs. The lower you go, the more horrifying the strength of the earth demons. They possess the blood of fiendish demons and startling comprehension abilities. They cultivate demonic Dao cultivation techniques and have many advantages. As they slowly lay dormant, they actually developed. By the time the righteous Dao awakened, they had already become a faction that could not be easily destroyed. Speaking of which, they are a much greater threat than the barbarian race. Fortunately, the 9 great underworld monarchs have their own conflicts, and the underground world is not peaceful in the first place. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. The central great realm was indeed much larger than he imagined. Just this soaring dragon marquis was just the tip of the iceberg. The things that Xiao Chen saw already dazzled him. However, why do I feel that aside from the blood of the fiendish demons, these flood dragon humans also have the aura of the dragon race? The topic returned to the flood dragon humans. This was what Xiao Chen was more concerned about. Upon hearing that, Long Yin looked at Xiao Chen, feeling it strange. He asked, "You don't know?" Xiao Chen felt bewildered. What's with that expression? It's like I have to know. Is it strange that I don't know? Long Yin smiled embarrassedly and said, "Sorry, I saw that you also have the dragon race bloodline, so I thought you would know about this." Back then, the dragon race's Black Dragon King led his subordinates and defeated the 9 great underworld monarchs. He became known as the Supreme Underworld Monarch and unified the abyssal underworld for the first time in history. This should be something that everyone in the dragon race knows about. Its influence is very deep. So that's the case. Xiao Chun felt enlightened. A regular dragon race cultivator should know about this. Unfortunately, Xiao Chun was not. No wonder Long Yin revealed such a surprised expression. Back then, the dragon race cultivators that followed the Black Dragon King to the abyssal underworld became the strongest of the earth demons. After the baptism of the underworld river's water, they became flood dragon humans with both the blood of the fiendish demons and the bloodline of the dragon race. When the Black Dragon King was alive, these flood dragon humans naturally enjoyed great fame and prestige. However, now, they have become the lowest existences among the earth demons. Long Yin caught his breath and continued. When the Scarlet Blood Army swept through the underground world, they killed the most flood dragon humans. For some reason, when Xiao Chun heard this, he felt uncomfortable. Perhaps it was because he was also a member of the dragon race. But when he saw how miserable these former members of the dragon race were now, he felt some compassion. The Black Dragon King was a mixed blood dragon in the first place. Many of his followers were mixed blood dragons as well. Even in the Divine Dragon Empire, they were at the bottom. At the same time, Xiao Chun thought of the seal in the underground dragon city in the soaring dragon great realm. He thought of that senior's words. The Black Dragon King would appear within 100 years. Chapter 1868. What happened? Long Yin asked in confusion when he saw that Xiao Chun was deep in thought. Xiao Chun said softly, "I thought of something, and I've seen enough. Let's go." "I still haven't asked. Where can the army's transportation formation send me?" The two chatted as they walked. Long Yin said the furthest it can go is to the borders of the Divine Dragon Empire. After that, you can cross a desert and enter the Divine Dragon Empire. Xiao Chun frowned slightly. Then, he said sullenly, "There's no other way. Directly teleport into the Divine Dragon Empire?" Long Yin shook his head and said no. Only a transrealm transportation formation can do that. The transrealm transportation formation is controlled by the Yan Imperial Hall. Hence, it will be somewhat difficult. However, it will be more convenient for you to go to the Divine Dragon Empire. Xiao Chun thought about it and felt that it was okay. Even if Xiao Chun could teleport to the Divine Dragon Empire, he did not know which city he would end up in. Xiao Chun knew too little about the dragon race. After slowly familiarizing himself with it, he had to properly plan how he was going to walk the path of the dragon clan. Boom! At this moment, the ground trembled slightly. A war chariot was carrying a mountain-sized rock beast. He slowly drove towards the military camp, escorted by thousands of people. Enthusiastic cheers sounded in the barracks when they saw the huge beast enter. Xiao Chun could not help but take a few more glances. That's a hill giant demon, a holy venerate level ferocious beast. It is said to be unrivaled among its peers. It is worshipped by the northern barbarians as a divine beast. Usually, killing this kind of ferocious beast signifies a great victory against the barbarians. A smile appeared on Long Yan's face as he explained to Xiao Chun. The atmosphere in the military camp made Xiao Chun a little envious. Live and die together. Advance and retreat together. Share the glory with your son. We're here. I'll get someone to set up the formation. A moment later, the two came to an open space in the army. Long Yin called out, "Hua!" 38 war chariots came from different directions and extremely fast speed, like flowing lights and phantoms. After a few breaths, the chariot was pieced together to form a Dao platform with complicated runes. So. Many martial artists flew out from the war chariots, holding war flags that shone with radiance, and inserted them into the Dao platform. Immediately, flowing light overflowed in all directions. 38 white rainbows descended from the sky. Auspicious energy swirled in the air, and a rain of flowers bloomed. A Taoist gate rose up from the center of the garden and stood erect amidst the rain of flowers. The teleportation array, which should have been incomparably complicated, was constructed so easily and quickly. It was indeed an eye-opener. Xiaoqin didn't have time to continue admiring it. He had to go on the road. This is some information on the Divine Dragon Empire. Father has been collecting it for you. There are also maps and some spirit jades. You might need them on the way. Before leaving, Long Yin handed over the items that the Soaring Dragon Marquis had prepared for Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin didn't stand on ceremony. After accepting it, he cupped his hands and said, "We'll meet again if fate wills it. See you later." Xiao. With a light tap of his feet, Xiaoqin's body was as light as a swallow. Dressed in white, he slowly entered the gate of Tao. Her movement technique was elegant and light like a dream. It was just like when Xiaoqin was in the Yinwu dynasty. With a gentle tap, before ripples could appear and Xiaoqin could appreciate the boundless charm of the dynasty, he left. Xiaoqin's trip to the Yinwu dynasty came to an end. Half a month later, a vast, boundless desert appeared before Xiaoqin at the border between the Divine Dragon Empire and the Yinwu dynasty. Heavy rain fell from the sky. Black clouds spread out, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. Xiaoqin was about to enter the dragon race's territory, but the weather was not good. This was rather strange. It rarely rained in the desert. Once it did, it would last for several months, even half a year. The sudden heavy rain and bad weather seemed to foretell a bumpy road ahead. As Xiaoqin looked at the desert amid the heavy rain, he felt rueful. Counting carefully, it had already been 4 years since he left the abandoned land, the Kunlun realm. After 4 years, he was finally about to step into the dragon race's homeland. The promise he made to the old dragon horse in the Blue Dragon Palace flashed before his eyes. When Xiaoqin thought about it, a clear scene appeared in his mind. It seemed very close, yet very far at the same time. If the Kunlun Realm's Dragon's Gate disciples knew that Xiaoqin was about to step into the Divine Dragon Empire, what would they think? If those old friends of his knew that Xiaoqin had already gone very far, they would probably wish him well. In a short 4 years, Xiaoqin advanced from a veritable essence stage disciple to a Cloud Sea Star Venerate. Xiaoqin finally gained the qualifications to step into this central great realm and compete with the most resplendent, outstanding talents of this era. The effort and sorrow that Xiaoqin had put in were hard to imagine. Xiaoqin walked step by step with trepidation. He had suffered humiliation, suffered disdain, fought schemes, and struggled to survive in the hands of holy venerates. Today, the dragon returned to its homeland. Xiaoqin finally arrived in the Divine Dragon Empire. Instead of riding the demon blood vulture, Xiaoqin walked to this desolate desert that belonged to the Divine Dragon Empire. This was the start of the next part of Xiaoqin's journey. As Xiaoqin draped a conical bamboo hat in the heavy rain, his steps were steady, and his eyes were resolute without any hesitation. When the heavy rain stopped, Xiaoqin walked and stopped, calming his emotions in the heavy rain. At the same time, he checked the information that the Soaring Dragon Marquis left for him. Right now, the Divine Dragon Empire's territory was about 1% of the Yinwu dynasties. Of course, that only included the Central Great Realm. It did not include the other subordinate realms of the dragon race outside the Central Great Realm. Just like how the Soaring Dragon Marquis had the Soaring Dragon Great Realm, the Divine Dragon Empire had many subordinate realms. However, compared to the Yinwu dynasty, its population was somewhat pitiful. The Yinwu dynasty had tens of billions of people, but the Divine Dragon Empire barely had 100 million. This was mainly because only cultivators with the dragon race bloodline could be considered part of the Divine Dragon Empire's population. The 8 great empires were all like this, founded on bloodlines. For the sake of maintaining the purity of their bloodlines, they maintained their independence and did not accept outsiders. The 4 dynasties were more casual. Aside from cultivators, they also had a large number of ordinary people. The empires could not compare to the dynasties in terms of population. The Yinwu dynasty had 108 provinces. Each province governed 100 counties. The size of a county was almost the size of a large world in the outside world. The Divine Dragon Empire had only 7 provinces. The 6 color divine dragons each ruled a province, and the Dragon Emperor ruled another province. Aside from this, there were many independent counties scattered throughout the empire's territory, managed by the dragon race factions with slightly lower bloodlines. Overall, the Divine Dragon Empire had about 1,000 counties. Unlike the dynasties, the 6 color divine dragons were like feudal lords within the dragon race, possessing strong independence. For example, even the Dragon Emperor could not interfere with the internal affairs of the white dragon race. The Dragon Emperor was revered as the dragon god, the leader of the dragon race in name. Right now, the Dragon Emperor did not have as much authority as the dynasty's holy emperor. However, he controlled an additional province. Furthermore, with the title of Dragon Emperor, he still wielded great authority. Right now, the Dragon Emperor was the Golden Dragon race's clan head of the 6-colored divine dragons. He had already been on the throne for 1,000 years. The Golden Dragon race was currently the strongest and noblest bloodline in the dragon race. Based on the Soaring Dragon Marquis's information, the dragon race determined status and rank based on bloodline. The Golden Dragon race was undoubtedly the top bloodline. Next were the remaining divine dragons without bloodlines. Next were the cultivators with only true dragon bloodlines. Furthermore, the dragon race bloodlines were extremely thin. There were all sorts of them, and they were collectively known as mixed blood dragons. If one's background was not good, it might affect their future. Although there were some mixed blood dragons who managed to turn the tides and held high positions in the empire, they were known as heaven dragons. However, this did not change the fact that the dragon race, which was the most populous, had low status. Xiao Qian frowned slightly. Honestly speaking, he did not like the idea of a hero being determined by one's background and bloodline. However, what surprised Xiao Qian was that even the Soaring Dragon Marquis's information did not mention the Blue Dragon bloodline. The information that the Soaring Dragon Marquis could collect in the Yinwu dynasty was already very high. However, the Soaring Dragon Marquis still could not find any information on the Blue Dragon bloodline. In the end, it was only in an unremarkable corner. The Blue Dragon bloodline was once the strongest of the dragon race. Now it no longer exists, and the details are unknown. The words were blurry, and Xiao Qian only read one sentence. Soon, it was the introduction of the other dragon race. Xiao Qian had accidentally overlooked it. The rain had not stopped yet. Xiao Qian closed the information. Under the heavy rain, he felt somewhat lonely for some reason. After so much difficulty, he arrived in the Divine Dragon Empire. However, not a single member of his race was here. Even the people of the dragon race did not know that the Blue Dragon bloodline once existed. The dragon returned home with lofty aspirations. However, in this nation of 1,000 counties, the Blue Dragon bloodline only exists. Only I exist. Chapter 1869. Heavy rain fell in the desert for a long time. However, the heavy rain would eventually stop. 2 months later, the sky cleared up, and the temperature of the desert experienced an extreme change. The dry air and high temperature were unbearable. However, the desert before Xiao Qian seemed to come to life. Perhaps what the desert needed wasn't heavy rain or water, but the blazing sun and endless heat. Only in such an environment could the desert exude its true charm. Xiao Qian took off his conical bamboo hat and put on his white robes, walking in the desert like an ascetic monk. When the desert truly came to life, its ferocious and scary side appeared before Xiao Qian. Huge cactuses covered in sharp needles suddenly came to life and attacked him. Venomous lizards came out of the desert, or scorpions that Xiao Qian could not shatter even after infusing great Tao energy into their bodies. Several dangerous situations nearly claimed Xiao Qian's life, making him exceptionally cautious. Whoosh! Xiao Qian drew the tyrant's saber, and a dreamy purple saber chi shot out like a rainbow, piercing through the sun. Xiao Qian fought with a 4-legged colorful lizard. Xiao Qian had seen this colorful lizard before. He did not know what kind of ferocious beast it was. He only knew that it possessed ferocious combat prowess and startling defense. Its body constantly gave off a tiny amount of poisonous powder. When mixed with the air, it was colorless and odorless, catching people off guard. It could even penetrate veritable essence energy shields and permeate the skin. The first time Xiao Chun entered a dangerous situation was because of this colorful lizard. Xiao Chun had not expected the poisonous powder's penetrative power to be so terrifying, numbing his body and slowing his movements. He had nearly been eaten. Fortunately, at the last moment, Xiao Chun activated his blue dragon bloodline. The instant his combat prowess soared, he instantly killed this colorful lizard, saving his life. If not for the blue dragon bloodline, Xiao Chun really would have died here. After that, Xiao Chun became more cautious, preserving half of his veritable essence energy to protect his body at all times. Clang! After 100 moves, Xiao Chun chopped off the lizard's tail. In pain, the lizard burrowed underground and fled far away. Xiao Chun could not be bothered to give chase. He sheathed his saber and revealed a doubtful expression. Zhang Xian took out the map and examined it carefully. He suspected that he had gone in the wrong direction. According to Long Yan's instructions, there shouldn't be too much danger in the desert. Strange, I almost lost my life a few times, and you call this not dangerous? Xiao Qin put away the map and compared it with the route. After confirming that he had not gone the wrong way, he shook his head and continued on his way. In the middle of the night, the temperature dropped sharply. After Xiao Chun laid down a simple defensive formation, he continued cultivating the demonic cloud art. He felt that there was still some distance to the first layer of the demonic cloud art. If Xiao Chun did not make any progress in the demonic cloud art, his cultivation would remain at small perfection middle stage, star venerate, unable to advance any further. Primal chaos, true essence had to be cultivated together in order to increase one's realm. In the middle of the night, Xiao Chun suddenly opened his eyes, which flickered with a demonic aura. He had been targeted. This was an instinctive sense of danger. Xiao Chun thought about it. He had killed many beasts in the past few days. Perhaps some overlord-class ferocious beasts smelled the baleful aura of ferocious beasts on his body. Or perhaps he accidentally entered the territory of some ferocious beast. Or perhaps he cultivated the demonic cloud heaven swallowing art, and some ferocious beast with a strong demonic aura sensed the demonic aura. Everything was possible. What Xiao Qin needed to do now was to deal with the changes by remaining calm. Holding the tyrant's saber by his hand, Xiao Chun carefully looked around. He extended out his spiritual sense and did his best to search for the hidden ferocious beast. Sometimes, the most terrifying thing was not the strength of the enemy, but the danger and craftiness of the enemy. The enemy was good at hiding and enduring, catching you off guard and dealing a fatal blow. How crafty! The instant Xiao Qin opened his eyes, the ferocious beast sensed that it was exposed and carefully hid. However, Xiao Chun could sense a pair of cold eyes staring at him in the darkness. Where is it? Where is it? Xiao Chun quickly turned his head and saw a silver figure flashing on a distant sand dune in the boundless night. When Xiao Chun focused his gaze again, he could no longer find that silver figure in the darkness. How fast? No, it did it on purpose. Xiao Qin's expression changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. In the next moment, a resplendent and dazzling light appeared above Xiao Qin's head. It illuminated the dark night as clearly as if it were daytime. That resplendent light contained a frightening amount of energy that stirred up boundless gales. The wind was so strong that even space distorted slightly. Even Xiao Qin's movement technique was greatly hindered. Boom! In the next moment, this resplendent moonlight landed where Xiao Chun had been standing. A terrifying pit immediately appeared in the ground, looking as scary as a planet crashing into the ground. A horrifying shock wave radiated in all directions. Xiao Chun could not dodge in time. The shock wave struck him, sending him flying back like his bones were falling apart. When Xiao Chun landed, horror spread in his heart. If he hadn't dodged in advance, he would have died on the spot. Not even his dregs would have been left. That silver figure clearly let Xiao Chun see it on purpose to attract his attention. What a crafty, ferocious beast. Its scheming was truly frightening. Xiao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood, and his complexion paled. When the dust settled and the huge pit appeared before him, he felt even more shocked and horrified. Whoosh! Before Xiao Chun could catch his breath, a beam of silver light flew at him, arriving before Xiao Chun in the blink of an eye. Dang! Xiao Chun drew the tyrant saber, and the purple blade blocked this beam of silver light. A strong force bounced back from the silver light. Xiao Chun's right palm cracked, and the tyrant's saber nearly flew out of his hand. This time, Xiao Chun clearly saw that what appeared before him was a silver fox, a desert silver fox. This desert silver fox did not have the nimbleness and elegance of an ordinary mountain fox. Instead, it had the ferocity of a desert fox. As it looked at Xiao Chun, its cold eyes contained a strong, murderous intent. Aside from the murderous intent, there was also a greed for prey, an overlord-level ferocious beast. Xiao Chun's expression changed slightly. An overlord-level ferocious beast was practically unrivaled in the same cultivation realm. The desert silver fox before Xiao Chun was such a star-venerate, overlord-level ferocious beast. Unless a holy venerate appeared, it would be very difficult to kill. Most importantly, this desert silver fox's craftiness and scheming already showed its effects. Before the fight started, it injured Xiao Chun, gaining the initiative. Whoosh! 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 After gaining the initiative, the desert silver fox lunged at Xiao Chun, tried to exaggerate Xiao Chun's injuries. Xiao Chun showed a sullen expression, maintaining a calm state of mind as he continuously retreated. Although the desert silver fox did not look large, each of its attacks contained tremendous power. Xiao Chun infused 2 strands of great Tao energy into his saber. However, he could only barely block, unable to gain the upper hand. As he retreated, Xiao Chun's injuries worsened. Whoosh! Whoosh! The desert silver fox's speed increased, and the sound of it tearing through the air became sharper. This extremely sharp fox cry spread in all directions, causing a commotion. When the many ferocious beasts in the desert heard this cry, they fled in panic. Clearly, this desert silver fox was normally a tyrant in this area, shocking everyone. If this continued, Xiao Chun needed to surpass the desert silver fox in terms of speed. He could not let this desert silver fox drag things out. He had to end the battle quickly. Resolving the mundane, a swastika shot out from Xiao Chun's forehead, releasing a boundless and ferocious Buddhist might. Instantly, Xiao Chun resolved his resolving the mundane. His face remained expressionless, and a huge Buddha image appeared behind him. An eternal saber light flew out. This was Xiao Chun's strongest killing move, ruthlessly chopping down. This was the first time the desert silver fox, which held the advantage in terms of strength, was sent flying by Xiao Chun's saber strike. Blue dragon divine wings. The wings on Xiao Chun's back spread out, and he used the thunder great Tao to drive the might of the tyrant saber in his hand. The purple saber immediately burned with a hazy purple flame. The thunder great Tao energy filled Xiao Chun's body. Thunder Dragon 9 transformations. Xiao Chun shouted, and the thunder great Tao energy in his body burst out. This was the first time Xiao Chun used the blue dragon divine wings to execute the Thunder Dragon 9 transformations. With a thought, he executed the Thunder Dragon 9 transformations. The instant electric light exploded in Xiao Chun's body. His figure flickered. In one breath, 81 saber lights burst out of the desert silver fox's body. With the assistance of the blue dragon divine wings, Xiao Chun's Thunder Dragon 9 transformations did not need to focus more veritable essence energy on speed, allowing it to become even mightier. The desert silver fox howled in pain as it fell to the ground. Saber lights continued to pour out of its body. Blood flowed out endlessly, and its life force drained continuously. With Xiao Chun's desperate counterattack, it sustained severe injuries. Then, Xiao Chun sheathed his saber and took out the god's shadow bow. Then, he infused his soul energy into it and fired an arrow. Whoosh! This arrow immediately nailed the fleeing desert silver fox to the ground. A miserable shriek came from the desert silver fox's mouth, sounding exceptionally miserable in the night. The might of the god Shadow Bao's arrow was horrifying. Shao Chun put away the god Shadow Bao with a slightly pale complexion. Overlord-class ferocious beasts were indeed hard to deal with. Shao Chun checked his injuries. Aside from the damage to his internal organs, his will of soul was also injured. This desert silver fox was much stronger than that monarch you. They were on a completely different level. The desert silver fox's life force drained rapidly. Shao Chen's figure flashed. He gently pushed off with his feet and arrived beside the desert silver fox. This desert silver fox's smooth fur flickered with a faint glow in the night sky, looking very spiritual. If not for the tyrant saber in Shao Chen's hand revealing its true form and driving it with the Thunder Great Dao, it would have been very difficult to penetrate the desert silver fox's defense. Shao Chen thought about it. If he made a robe out of this desert silver fox's fur, it would be incredibly gorgeous. It would definitely be incomparably gorgeous. And with the support of the array formation, it was completely a natural Dao artifact. After many years, it might even become an inherited Dao tool, or even go further. The desert silver fox's injuries were significant. However, the harvest was huge. Not to mention its fur and bones. Just the beast core was worth cities. After being struck by the god Shadow Bao, the desert silver fox's life force completely drained away. Shao Chun stretched out his hand and grabbed the arrow. Then, he tried to pull it out. However, just at this moment, the desert silver fox's closed eyes suddenly opened. A boundless, fiendish light came from its eyes, looking exceptionally eye-catching in the dark night. A terrifying aura suddenly burst forth from the dead silver fox. A loud bang rang out. The desert silver fox's body suddenly enlarged. In the blink of an eye, it became a huge creature. 6 long tails appeared behind it, soaring into the clouds. Damn it! Shao Chen's face sank. He got tricked again. This desert silver fox was too crafty. Chapter 1870. The dying silver fox suddenly turned into a towering colossus. Its 6 silver tails extended into the sky. A boundless might burst out of the silver fox, shaking the sky. Shao Chun was already sufficiently careful. After resolving the mundane and thunder dragons, 9 transformations were struck. He even used the god Shadow Bao, a soul tool. Even without using the heart flame, 1 arrow from the god Shadow Bao could severely injure an ordinary holy venerate. For a silver fox that was on the verge of death, it was even easier. It was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. However, even so, this silver fox still managed to trick Shao Chun. Buddhist major magic skill, Dermic World. Shao Chen's figure wavered, and his physical body turned into a 3-kilometer-tall giant in the blink of an eye. Then, he turned around and clenched his fist as he charged forward. Shao Chen's 5 fingers crackled like thunder. The force of his punch reached 25 cauldron force, shaking the clouds. Shao Chen reacted very quickly. The moment the silver fox changed, he executed Dermic World, preventing the other party from trampling him to death. However, Shao Chun was still too slow. The silver fox that successfully tricked Shao Chun struck Shao Chen's chest with its claw. The silver fox took the initiative to attack Shao Chun. Pain! 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 Not only did the punch miss, but the other party even struck his chest. The pain made Shao Chun suck in a breath of cold air, and he clenched his teeth. The sound of wind rang out beside Shao Chen's ears as his body flew back like an arrow. The Dermic World's 3,000-foot Dermic body slowly disappeared under this heavy blow. Whoosh! After retreating 50 kilometers, Shao Chun knelt on one knee and looked up. The 6-tailed silver fox in the sky was incredibly huge. When he looked at it, he felt very insignificant. Pussy eye. Shao Chun vomited a mouthful of blood, and his complexion paled even further. Something's not right. Suddenly, Shao Chen's eyes lit up. He discovered that while this silver fox's aura looked extremely horrifying, it seemed somewhat weak. final radiance of the setting sun. These words appeared in Xiao Chen's mind, reigniting hope in the somewhat despairing Xiao Chun. If this silver fox remained this strong, Xiao Chun would not be able to defeat it in his current state. However, since this was just the final radiance of the setting sun, it was worth a gamble to see who could survive to the end. Hua! The six-tailed silver fox howled at the sky, opened its mouth, and sucked hard. A powerful suction force spread out in all directions, and a large amount of spiritual energy surged toward the silver fox. It formed a whirlpool and spun around the silver fox's mouth. A circle of energy appeared in the mouth of the six-tailed silver fox. In the center of the vortex, it became more and more resplendent, like a demon fox swallowing the moon. Kill! This demon fox really wanted to kill him. It had to kill him no matter what. It wanted to devour his flesh to replenish its injuries. Either you die, or I die. Xiao Chun roared at the sky. At this moment, the blue dragon bloodline was fully activated. The ancient blue dragon divine might spread in all directions. The dragons might almost materialize into a flame that soared into the sky. Xiao Chen's heart was as cold as water. He allowed his killing intent to spread out in all directions. Buddhist 7-kill seal. Xiao Chen shouted, and his left hand moved nimbly. Killing chi filled the air like formless water. As Xiao Chen's nimble fingers moved, the killing chi in the air changed wantonly, taking all sorts of forms. It was like a lotus flower never touching water or the sun, and moon never hanging high in the sky. When the 7-kill seal formed, at this moment of life and death, Xiao Chen's irritable heart calmed down. It was clearly the Buddhist 7-kill seal that made the killing chi in the air even more terrifying. However, it made Xiao Chen's mental state incredibly calm. It was like he was just a bystander, coldly watching the killing chi in the air, watching this battle of life and death. Boom! When the silver fox sensed the sevenfold killing chi after Xiao Chun activated his blue dragon bloodline, its movements paused, not daring to drag this out. The six-tailed silver fox lowered its head and roared at Xiao Chun. That resplendent energy ball looked like a bright moon falling to the ground as it smashed toward Xiao Chun. The bright moon did not shine. Everywhere it passed, it kicked up a sandstorm, covering the sky and sun as it flew out in all directions for 500 kilometers. Kill! Xiao Chun snorted coldly and drew his tyrant saber. The sevenfold killing chi gathered on his saber. Without needing to drive it, a surging saber intent appeared on the saber. As Xiao Chun soared into the air, a golden light flashed in his eyes. Using his great desolate Ian physique, he gathered the sevenfold killing chi and executed Flying Sky, Falling Moon. Flying Sky, Falling Moon. A saber light flashed, and Xiao Chun chopped that bright moon-like energy ball in half. Moonlight spread out, and when it landed on the ground, it blasted out hundreds of thousands of huge pits in the desert. The boundless desert became a scene of desolation, and the terrain changed drastically. Dying. While the blue dragon bloodline still had one breath left, Xiao Chun unfurled his blue dragon divine wings. Then, he soared into the sky and landed, turning into a beam of azure light. In the time it took for a spark to fly, blood spurted out, and the six-tailed silver fox's head flew off. However, before the six-tailed silver fox could land, its 6 huge tails swept towards Xiao Chun at the same time. Boom! The blue dragon bloodline slowly receded, returning to Xiao Chen's physical body. This strike knocked Xiao Chun into the air. After Xiao Chun landed, he felt the world spin around him. Everywhere he looked, the scene turned upside down, and everything turned blurry. Xiao Chun felt a splitting headache. His eyelids felt as heavy as a mountain, and he could not control them. Demon Blood Vulture, protect me. Xiao Chun instructed in his heart. Then, he could no longer hold on. He stumbled and fell to the ground. 3 days later, the blazing sun hung high in the sky. 50,000 kilometers away, a group of men and women appeared on a rather tall sand dune. When this group of people climbed the sand dune and looked down, they were all stupefied. They saw huge pits tens of kilometers wide in the boundless desert before them. The area within 50,000 kilometers was a scene of desolation. Terrifying killing chi and fiend chi still lingered in the desert. The entire terrain had been completely changed. There were deep pits everywhere, and the ground was sunken. With one glance, everyone felt deeply shocked. Six-tailed heavenly fox. Someone practiced an eye technique and possessed astonishing vision. When he saw the huge corpse of the six-tailed silver fox, his expression turned incredibly shocked. The corpse of a six-tailed heavenly fox? The moment this person said that, the expressions of this group of cultivators changed somewhat. The six-tailed heavenly fox was an overlord-level, star-venerate ferocious beast. Regular holy venerates would find it difficult to defeat. It was an absolute tyrant in this area. More importantly, this six-tailed heavenly fox was cunning by nature and very hard to kill. If it encountered an existence that was stronger than it, it wouldn't show itself at all. If it targeted an existence that was weaker than it, it would never fail. There was a saying in the desert: when you see the six-tailed heavenly fox, you are already dead. Don't get any ideas. Since you discovered the six-tailed heavenly fox, it must have been intentional. However, at this moment, the corpse of a six-tailed heavenly fox appeared before them. Furthermore, this was a scene of desolation. The 50,000-kilometer-long sand pit was shocking. Could it be that someone fought with the six-tailed heavenly fox and killed it? Or was all this an illusion created by the six-tailed heavenly fox? After all, the six-tailed heavenly fox was famous for its cunning. Senior Sister Tang, Senior Brother Deng, there is another corpse over there. At that moment, the cultivator who had mastered the eye technique uttered another shocking statement. The leader, a man and a woman, exchanged glances. Shock flashed in their eyes. This group of people were dragon race cultivators with a dragon race bloodline. They came from the same sect and were here for experiential training. Should we go and take a look? The man with the family name Deng asked softly as he looked at the woman with the family name Tang. A fervent look flashed in his eyes. The corpse of a six-tailed heavenly fox was priceless, inestimable. Unexpectedly, there would be such a harvest when he brought his junior brothers on experiential training. This was truly surprising. The woman with the family name Tang was called Tang Dan. She looked gentle and had a gentle temperament. However, she was very cautious when doing things. She did not lower her guard because of the six-tailed heavenly fox's corpse. Senior Brother Deng, let's go and take a look first. If there is no danger, we can bring our junior brothers over. How about that? Tang Dan suggested softly as she looked at the man with the family name Deng. Sure. Whoosh. The two gently pushed off with their feet and flew close to the desert like roaming dragons. As their bodies rubbed against the air, the two burned their protective veritable essence energy. From a distance, they looked like two roaming dragons flying at lightning speed in the air. They were as fast as lightning, like rainbows. After about 7 minutes, the two landed beside the six-tailed heavenly fox with grave expressions. It really is the corpse of a six-tailed heavenly fox. Seeing was believing. At this moment, they could clearly feel the lingering fiendish chi and resentment of the six-tailed heavenly fox. They had no choice but to believe it. Senior Sister Tang, look at the wound on its neck. The man with the family name Deng pointed to the neat wound on the six-tailed heavenly fox's neck, and his expression changed slightly. What a fast saber! Tang Dan could not help exclaiming when she saw it. This saber strike was extremely fast and boundlessly sharp, containing a strong saber intent. A scene appeared in her mind. A bladesman holding a saber flew over in the night sky. A sharp saber intent spread out from the saber in his hand, turning into a saber light that illuminated the entire night sky. The saber light flickered. In the next moment, the six-tailed heavenly fox's head fell from the sky. The man with the family name Deng released a safety signal, and the other dragon race cultivators rushed over. When they saw the six-tailed heavenly fox's corpse, they all sighed. Senior Sister Tang, this person does not seem to be dead. Just at this moment, someone discovered that Xiao Chun was not dead. However, his aura was extremely weak and hard to detect. What? Tang Dan's figure flashed, and she had the others move back. Then, she looked at Xiao Qin's pale complexion. There was no life force flowing in Xiao Qin's body. He did not seem alive. Let me take a look. Tang Dan showed a cautious expression as she carefully walked over and placed her hand on Xiao Qin's pulse. Chapter 1871. Tang Dan placed her right hand on Xiao Qin's pulse. After a while, she revealed a strange expression. This fellow is quite lucky. To think that he could survive the six-tailed heavenly fox's attack. He has delicate features and looks quite young. I don't know where it came from. A group of people looked at Xiao Chun and discussed him. They were very curious about him. Senior Brother Deng. At that moment, the man with the surname Deng felt that something was strange. He walked over from the six-tailed heavenly fox's side. He had a smile on his face. It was clear that he was in a good mood. When he saw the strange expression on Tang Dan's face, he asked, "Senior Sister Tang, what's wrong?" Tang Dan did not let go. She said somewhat uncertainly, "This person's body, his body has dense demonic qi. He is severely injured. It looks like he fought with the heavenly fox. He must have fought for a long time to leave behind such injuries. Furthermore, he is a bladesman, so it is very likely that..." The underlying meaning was clear. It was very likely that the six-tailed heavenly fox had died at this person's hands. Right after the man with the family named Deng spoke, the smile on his face immediately vanished. He said sullenly, "That's impossible. This six-tailed heavenly fox must have died at the hands of some expert. Furthermore, that expert did not care about the six-tailed heavenly fox's corpse at all. He left behind this mess and left in a hurry. Look at this person. No matter how I look at it, he is just a middle-stage star venerate. How could he kill the six-tailed heavenly fox?" The man with the surname Deng showed a decisive expression, insisting that the six-tailed heavenly fox was definitely not killed by Xiao Chun. The reason for this was simple. If it was killed by Xiao Chun, then this six-tailed heavenly fox would no longer be ownerless. I feel that what Senior Brother Deng said makes sense. Even a holy venerate would find it hard to kill a six-tailed heavenly fox. How could it die at the hands of a star venerate? It's an overlord class, ferocious beast, after all. Furthermore, it's the cunning and troublesome six-tailed heavenly fox. It's really impossible. Won't we know after waking him up? Some people agreed with the man, surnamed Deng, while others suggested that they should save Xiao Chun first. However, it immediately caused another round of debate. That's not good, right? If he really did kill him and his character isn't proper, then we'll be caught in our own web. That's right. Master has also warned us not to trust others easily when we're outside. But I can't just stand by and watch him die. The group of people argued endlessly, but could not come to a decision in the end, not knowing what to do. Most importantly, Tang Dan's words had caused this simple matter to become complicated. Everyone has their own selfish motives. If Xiao Chun was just an ordinary person, saving his life and passing wouldn't be a big deal at all. However, if he really killed the six-tailed heavenly fox, it would affect the distribution of benefits. It would be hard to avoid a grudge. Let's just kill him with one strike and pretend that he's already dead. A trace of killing intent flashed across the eyes of the man, surnamed Deng. He placed his right hand on the hilt of his sword and stepped forward, looking like he was about to attack. The others were shocked by Senior Brother Deng's actions, but they didn't refute him. "Stop!" Tang Dan's expression changed slightly. She shouted coldly, "What are you doing?" He also has the bloodline of the Heaven Dragon. He's of the same race as us. The Heaven Dragon lineage is weak to begin with. How can they kill each other? How can they watch others die? As soon as he said this, the others were speechless. The man surnamed Deng's face was gloomy. He curled his lips, but in the end, he didn't say anything and didn't push the matter further. However, no one noticed that just now. A faint red light flashed in the ring on Xiao Qin's finger, disappearing in a flash. Let's dissect the six-tailed heavenly fox's corpse first. We'll keep its fur, blood, and bones. Let him keep the beast cores. Even if he killed them, it wouldn't be too much for us to take them away. The others had no objections to Tang Dan's arrangement. They could all accept it. Of course, this did not include the man with the surname Deng. He was rather displeased, but Tang Dan had a righteous cause, so he could only endure it for now. After feeding Xiao Chan a medicinal pill, Tang Dan infused several wisps of true essence into Xiao Chen's body, triggering the circulation of his own true essence. This way, he could recover faster and was more effective than any medicinal pill. After doing all this, Tang Dan said, "This person is severely injured. He will not wake up for a month. The two of you, take care of him." All right. It was clear that Tang Dan held high prestige in this group. No one dared to object to what she said. That's all for this experiential training. We'll return immediately. After we return, check this person and see if he joined the Heaven Dragon Palace. However, Senior Sister Tang, we have not completed our mission yet. I will explain the mission to Master. Since the Beast Tide 20 years ago, the Flaming Cloud Desert has become exceptionally dangerous. It is not advisable to split up two people to continue taking risks. Their lives are more important than the mission. Oh, the group did not hesitate. After dissecting the six-tailed Heavenly Fox's corpse, they returned. When a man with the surname Deng saw the other's hand the beast cores to Tang Dan, displeasure flashed in his eyes. The six-tailed Heavenly Fox's beast cores were worth cities and extremely rare. Late at night, the man with the surname Deng opened his eyes. When he saw that Tang Dan was already in closed-door cultivation, a cold light flashed in his eyes. The man with the surname Deng stood up and headed for Xiao Chun. Two dragon race cultivators stood guard beside Xiao Chun, chatting softly. Senior Sister is really kind. If it were me, I would definitely not save him. That's true. One six-tailed Heavenly Fox's beast core can be exchanged for several true dragon-grade blood transformation pills. As long as I have one true dragon blood transformation pill, my strength will probably increase by 20%. I heard that the disciples of the other palaces receive true dragon blood transformation pills as a reward. That is nothing to them. Huh. So Senior Sister is right. Our Heaven Dragon bloodline is already weak enough. How can we just watch him die? The man with the surname Deng walked over expressionlessly and said, "Go and rest. I'll guard this person." When the two heard this, they quickly stood up and said, "Many thanks, Senior Brother Deng. In that case, we'll take our leave first." Go then. After the two left, the man with the surname Deng's expression suddenly turned sullen. As he looked at Xiao Chun, a murderous intent reappeared in his eyes. Those two earlier did not know how valuable the six-tailed Heavenly Fox's beast core was. It was not something that could be exchanged for a true dragon-grade blood transformation pill, but a divine dragon-grade blood transformation pill. If you die, then so be it. Why are you still breathing? How meddlesome. The man with the surname Deng cautiously looked at Xiao Chun. Then, he bent over and placed his hand on Xiao Chen's pulse. The man with the surname Deng wanted to shatter Xiao Chen's internal organs and end his life force. He wanted to aggravate Xiao Chen's injuries and make it look like he died of natural causes. "I'm sorry," the man with the surname Deng said sullenly and prepared to make a move. "What are you doing?" Just at this moment, Xiao Chun suddenly opened his eyes and said coldly as he looked at the other party, "You." This startled the man with the surname Deng. He had not expected Xiao Chun to wake up so suddenly. After the shock, the man showed a ferocious expression as he said, "I want you dead." However, just as the man was about to use his veritable essence energy to shatter Xiao Chen's heart meridian, he was horrified to discover something. At some point in time, Xiao Chun had grasped the man's pulse with a flip of his hand. Whoosh! A weak but incredibly tyrannical strand of veritable essence energy entered the man with the surname Deng's body through the heart meridian. The man with the surname Deng immediately felt a sharp pain in his chest. He could not help screaming in pain. This scream sounded exceptionally ear-piercing late at night, startling everyone. "What's wrong?" Tang Dan asked with a frown as she led a group of people over. "He wants to kill me," the man with the surname Deng said as he let go and pointed at Xiao Chun. However, the man with the surname Deng suddenly discovered that Xiao Chun had already closed his eyes at some point in time. Xiao Chun's breathing was very weak. showing no signs of waking up. Junior brother Deng Yun, are you joking? I really did not. He clearly opened his eyes earlier and grasped my heart meridian. I swear. Deng Yun found this unbelievable. He pushed Xiao Chen hard and said, "Wake up. Stop pretending to be dead. Stop." Tang Dan quickly stopped Deng Yun. Then, she said sullenly, "Junior brother Deng, I know that you want to obtain the Heavenly Fox Beast Core to break through your bottleneck. However, there is no need to use such despicable means to ruin your reputation." "I'm not. He really wants to kill me." Tang Dan looked at Deng Yun coldly. "I think you are the one who wants to kill him. You still have not explained to me why you are here." Senior brother Deng took the initiative to help us take care of this person. The other two immediately spoke up when they saw that Tang Dan was angry. Deng Yun immediately became speechless, not knowing what to say. Tang Dan glanced indifferently at Deng Yun and said, "There's no need to explain. This will not happen again. If he really did not kill the six-tailed heavenly fox, I will definitely give you a share of the true dragon blood transformation pill that I exchanged for the beast core. From now on, I will personally take care of this person." The commotion came to an end. Deng Yun left with an unsightly expression. Tang Dan ordered people to carry Xiao Chen to her tent. Kassier. After entering the tent, the sword in Tang Dan's hand flashed with azure light. She pressed it against Xiao Chen's chest at an extremely fast speed and said coldly, "Stop pretending. I know you are awake." Sword intent encased Xiao Chen's entire body. As she circulated her veritable essence energy, a faint murderous intent flashed in Tang Dan's eyes. If Xiao Chen still did not open his eyes, the sword chi would mince his entire body into shreds when she swung her sword. Xiao Chen slowly opened his eyes. He did not say anything, only looking at Tang Dan. "Answer whatever I ask." Even though Tang Dan already knew that Xiao Chen had woken up, she still felt somewhat shocked when she saw this scene for herself. During the day, she had checked on Xiao Chen's injuries. They were extremely severe. She would need at least a month to wake up. However, she did not expect Xiao Chen to wake up that very night. "What do you want to ask?" Xiao Chen answered calmly, not showing any panic in his eyes. "Did you kill the six-tailed heavenly fox?" "Yes." Xiao Chen's simple answer startled Tang Dan slightly. After the shock passed, she found it unbelievable. However what? Tang Dan pressed. "Pussy-eye." Just as Tang Dan pressed, Xiao Chen suddenly stood up and allowed the sword to pierce through his chest. Blood flowed out and dyed his clothes red. Shock flashed in Tang Dan's eyes. Her mind paused for a moment. By the time she startled to her senses, Xiao Chen had already formed the 7-kill seal and placed a finger on her forehead. Xiao Chen's terrifying killing intent immediately strengthened sevenfold. Like a surging flood, it poured into Tang Dan's body. The killing intent filled every corner of Tang Dan's body, instantly restraining her, preventing her from moving. The terrifying killing intent made breathing difficult for Tang Dan, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Chi! Xiao Chen let go and stood up. Then, he slowly drew his sword and said indifferently, "However, I do not like it when others point their swords at me." Chapter 1872. Every time the sword was drawn, Xiao Chen's complexion paled. Tang Dan, who watched this scene from a close distance, appeared even paler than Xiao Chen's, completely stunned. Whoosh! After a while, the sword in Xiao Chen's hand was completely drawn. Then, he casually tossed it to the side. Then, he stopped the bleeding, treated his injuries, and moved his body. After doing all that, Xiao Chen looked at Tang Dan, who was restrained by the 7-kill seal. With a thought, Xiao Chen's left hand moved continuously. Then, he released the horrifying killing chi that had accumulated in Tang Dan's body. If he did not release it, the 7-kill seal would not be able to suppress it, and Xiao Chen would not be able to control it. At that time, even if Tang Dan did not die, she would be severely injured. Clearly, that was not what Xiao Chen wanted to see, nor was it his goal. Cough, cough, cough. Tang Dan held her chest and coughed intensely. Then, she revealed a horrified gaze as she looked at Xiao Chen. This was the first time she saw such a terrifying person in her life. Xiao Chen's cultivation was clearly not high, but the feeling that he gave off was even more horrifying than when she faced her master. "Why did you not kill me?" Tang Dan looked at Xiao Chun, confusion flashing in her eyes. Xiao Chun found a place to sit down. Then he said calmly, "Although I would have woken up even if you had not appeared, you still saved my life. My demonic pet told me everything that happened, so I definitely would not have killed you." If Tang Dan had not appeared and did not draw in Xiao Chen's veritable essence energy, he would have been unconscious for another 10 days or so. With the help of external forces, waking up became very simple. After sleeping for a few days, Xiao Chen's injuries had already healed significantly with the help of his bloodline power. His injuries were not as severe as Tang Dan imagined. The recovery ability of the dragon race bloodline was extraordinary in the first place. Furthermore, Xiao Chun had a grade 8 blue dragon bloodline, which was even more extraordinary. Second, I have some things to ask you. Let's see if we can make a deal. A wary look flashed in Tang Dan's eyes as she looked at Xiao Chun. Who exactly are you? What is your purpose in coming to the Divine Dragon Empire? Xiao Chun, I came to the Divine Dragon Empire to meet someone. Even if I told you my second purpose, you would not believe me, so I will not say it. Xiao Chun told the other party the truth, not hiding anything. He continued, "Let's cut to the chase. I bear you no ill will. Although I killed that six-tailed heavenly fox, I can give you its beast core. I don't need it." Tang Dan's intuition told her that Xiao Chun was not lying. Most importantly, she felt that Xiao Chun had a powerful aura. It made her feel that Xiao Chun had no need to lie to her. "What do you want to know?" After weighing the pros and cons, Tang Dan reluctantly agreed to Xiao Chun's request. As long as it was not a secret, she could tell Xiao Chun everything she knew. In reality, Tang Dan was just a minor character in the vast Divine Dragon Empire. She did not know any secrets. "Tell me about the current situation in the Divine Dragon Empire and how to get to Ancestor Dragon City." On hearing that, Tang Dan revealed a surprised expression. This was not a secret. Basically, every dragon race cultivator knew about it. While Tang Dan found it strange, she organized her thoughts and gave a simple explanation. Xiao Chun listened seriously, not missing a single word. When he heard the end, his expression turned somewhat grave. To think that Ancestor Dragon City was not open to the public. There was only one sect in the vast Divine Dragon Empire. Interestingly, this sect was also called the Dragon's Gate. One could enter Ancestor Dragon City only by entering the inner sect. Tang Dan was not clear about the inner sect situation. She only knew that entering the inner sect was a supreme honor. As for the outer sect, it was divided into 7 palaces. There were the Golden Dragon Palace, the White Dragon Palace, the Silver Dragon Palace, the Blue Dragon Palace, the Red Dragon Palace, the Gray Dragon Palace, and the Heaven Dragon Palace. While these 7 outer palaces were called the Outer Sect, in reality, any one of them equaled the strength of a peak rank 6 sect outside. Only those with the 6 color divine dragons or extremely high-quality true dragon bloodlines could enter the first 6 palaces, rejecting mixed blood dragons. From top to bottom, all the palaces were controlled by nobles with divine dragon bloodlines. As for the Heaven Dragon Palace, while its name sounded nice, in reality, the disciples it took in were all mixed blood dragon bloodlines. The Heaven Dragon Palace had the most people, but the lowest status in the dragon race. The resources they enjoyed were also insufficient. In this nation that valued bloodlines, mixed blood dragon bloodlines were like commoners in a mundane nation. Their statuses were exceptionally awkward. Tang Dan's group was an inner palace disciple of the Heaven Dragon Palace. They had come out for experiential training under orders. "I want to join the Heaven Dragon Palace. Is there any way to clear my identity?" After thinking for a while, Xiao Chun directly stated his purpose. Tang Dan gave Xiao Chun a strange look and said, "You are overthinking. Just join the Heaven Dragon Palace." Who would go out of their way to investigate a dragon race cultivator with a mixed blood dragon bloodline? These words were somewhat implicit. In other words, Xiao Chun thought too highly of himself. The mixed blood dragon bloodline had a very low presence in the entire Divine Dragon Empire, practically negligible. No one would go out of their way to investigate. Xiao Chen did not mind. He asked softly, "Is there? If there is, I can give you a treasure that is no less valuable than the Heavenly Fox's beast core." Seeing how persistent Xiao Chen was, Tang Dan's words sounded very tempting. Tang Dan could not help seriously thinking about it. After a while, she said, "Naturally, there is a way. The Divine Dragon Empire has the most mixed-blood dragon cultivators. It would not be difficult to forge an identity. I want it to be flawless. No matter how you check, you will not be able to find any flaws," Xiao Chen said seriously, emphasizing his tone. Startled by Xiao Chen's stance, Tang Dan clenched her teeth and said, "I guarantee that it will be flawless." "Deal." Whoosh. Right after speaking, Xiao Chen tossed a brocade box to Tang Dan. Inside, it was a spirit herb that he found in the withered Leaf City Lord's ring. It was more than 10,000 years old and could increase soul energy and strengthen the will of soul. Soul stabilizing grass. Tang Dan opened the brocade box, and her eyes lit up. Then, she revealed a shocked expression. She had not expected Xiao Chen to casually toss out a 10,000-year-old spirit herb. Living in the resource-deprived Heaven Dragon Palace had startled Tang Dan considerably. She could not help feeling even more curious about Xiao Chen's origins. However, since the other party did not say anything, she did not dare to ask. Suddenly, she thought of why Xiao Chen wanted a perfect identity. Entering Ancestor Dragon City. Right, that must be it. After entering the inner sect, it would be impossible not to attract attention. One needed a flawless identity. "You," Tang Dan exclaimed hoarsely, startled by her own thoughts. As she looked at Xiao Chen, she could not help crying out. "It's settled, then. I will stay here with you and recuperate for a period of time." However, Xiao Chen showed no intention of explaining. He lay down and went to sleep, appearing somewhat tyrannical. This fellow. In Tang Dan's eyes, Xiao Chen appeared somewhat shameless. She clenched her teeth and walked out of the tent. After leaving the tent, Tang Dan shook her head and went to where Deng Yun was. At this moment, the incomparably gloomy Deng Yun felt extremely aggrieved. He went for wool and came home shorn. Not only did he fail to kill Xiao Chen, but he even got captured in public. What was even more embarrassing was that he was injured by Xiao Chen and couldn't refute. Heavenly Fox Beast Core. Thinking of the Beast Core, Deng Yun clenched his fist, and a trace of deep unwillingness flashed in his eyes. The Heaven Dragon Palace lacked resources in the first place. As a mixed blood dragon, the resources that Xiao Chen enjoyed could not compare to those of the six-color divine dragons or those true dragon cultivators. Even if they put in the same or even more effort, they might not be able to obtain as much as the disciples of the other six palaces. Even the main palace takes care of those true dragon disciples. It was not easy for him to obtain such an opportunity, and he was unwilling to let it slip away just like that. Junior brother Deng. Just at this moment, Tang Dan suddenly appeared, startling Deng Yun awake, and he hurriedly stood up to welcome her. "Senior sister Tang, I promise I won't do it again. You don't have to come and warn me again. However, I still have to say that that person is indeed awake. Furthermore, he is extraordinarily strong." When Deng Yun saw Tang Dan, he felt somewhat embarrassed. However, he did not try to explain anything. "I'm not talking to you about that. Take it." Tang Dan stretched out her hand and handed the six-tailed Heavenly Fox's beast core to Deng Yun. Then, she said, "You, when I both know that this beast core can be exchanged for a divine dragon gray blood transformation pill. Actually, I can understand why you did this." Deng Yun received the beast core and was stunned. "Senior sister, I take it. One divine dragon gray blood transformation pill should be able to help you break through the bottleneck and advance to consummation star venerate. In the future, your chances of breaking through to holy venerate will increase by 10%. Deng Yun's eyes turned somewhat moist. He did not know what to say. Inside Tang Dan's tent, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and entered deep thought. His divine sense had seen everything that had happened. This woman is indeed very charming. No wonder she has such prestige in the team. Otherwise, she would not have been able to get the experiential training team to return willingly with just a few words. At the same time, Xiao Chun felt somewhat shocked. The low status of mixed-blood dragons somewhat surpassed his expectations. Chapter 1873. Early the next morning, after Tang Dan's group made some simple preparations, they rode on their savage beasts and continued their journey in the desert. Savage beasts were huge beasts with fiendish demon bloodlines. They moved as fast as they could in the desert. After storing up power, savage beasts could fly for a short period of time, several times faster than fired arrows. Savage beasts were much better than war chariots or spirit boats. The group traveled in silence, not saying much. As for Xiao Chun, he shared a savage beast with Tang Dan. The savage beast had a very wide back. If Xiao Chun did not fear falling, he could even sit cross-legged without any problems. Seeing that Xiao Chun had already woken up, the others occasionally looked at Xiao Chun, feeling exceptionally curious. This white-robed bladesman lying beside the six-tailed heavenly fox was a mystery to them. Tang Dan did not say much about Xiao Chun, which piqued their curiosity. Deng Yun, who was traveling alongside Tang Dan, occasionally glanced at Xiao Chun, feeling somewhat upset. Last night, Deng Yun had learned from Tang Dan that Xiao Chun had killed the six-tailed heavenly fox. He did not believe it at all. However, no matter what, this beast core ended up in his hands. Deng Yun had to properly thank Tang Dan. He had to remember this favor and repay it when he broke through to the Holy Venerate stage in the future. With this thought, Deng Yun decided to let it go. There was no need to lower himself to Xiao Chun's level. Naturally, Xiao Chun could not be bothered with what others thought. He closed his eyes and rested on the savage beast's back, anxiously treating his injuries. Recovering his combat prowess to its peak was the most important thing. The battle with the six-tailed heavenly fox had taught Xiao Chun many of his shortcomings. His movement technique was still not fast enough. He had to perfect his Thunder Dragon steps quickly and improve it further. His horizons were still too low. After entering the Heaven Dragon Palace, he would see if he could obtain some movement technique manuals to improve his movement technique. When the sun set, a red glow filled the sky, stretching as far as the eye could see. The setting sun was as beautiful as a sea of fire. The beautiful scenery of the desert made one feel carefree and relaxed. In one day, the savage beast traveled 4 million kilometers. If it were a martial artist, it would take more than 3 days to travel such a long distance, and the consumption would be even greater. After 3 days of traveling day and night, Xiao Chun and the others finally walked out of the desert. They arrived in front of a majestic city next to the desert. Perhaps it was due to nature. The dragon race's cities were very tall, much larger than the Yanwu dynasty cities. Tang Dan stated her identity. When one stepped into the Divine Dragon Empire, one would be considered to have officially entered the Divine Dragon Empire. On the streets and alleys, be it ordinary people or martial artists, they all more or less had the dragon race's bloodline. Because of his bloodline, Xiao Chun felt an indescribable sense of closeness as he walked through it. This was the first time he had felt such a feeling in the 4 years he had been in the Great Thousand Domains. After checking into an inn, Tang Dan gave some simple instructions before leaving in a hurry. The group rested on the spot and ordered a table of food and wine in the inn. Xiao Chun sat among them, pouring himself a cup of wine and drinking by himself. Whenever someone asked him about something, he would casually chat with them. They had been traveling for days, so they did not have time to ask in detail. Now that they had a rare moment of rest, the Heaven Dragon Palace disciples traveling with them asked Xiao Chun all the questions they were curious about. Xiao Chun, did you really kill that six-tailed heavenly fox? This was the question that tickled everyone the most. Xiao Chun nodded and said, I guess so. However, I did not do it on my own. I had some luck. Not wanting these people to be too shocked and continue asking questions, Xiao Chun could only explain. No wonder. I was wondering how you could kill the six-tailed heavenly fox. However, it is still very difficult. Even if luck played a part, your strength is undeniable. Yes, no matter how lucky I am, it is useless without strength. Such an explanation was acceptable to the crowd, so they stopped asking. Deng Yun's expression turned somewhat unnatural, feeling somewhat upset. Logically speaking, the beast core naturally belonged to whoever killed it. However, the six-tailed heavenly fox's beast core was in Deng Yun's hands. Deng Yun still did not know that Xiao Chun had taken the initiative to hand over the beast core. Deng Yun still did not know that Xiao Chun had taken the initiative to hand over the beast core. Did you really kill that six-tailed heavenly fox? Deng Yun asked with a sharp expression as he put down his wine cup and looked at Xiao Chun. Although there was some luck, it is absolutely true. Xiao Chun did not understand why, so he repeatedly emphasized this question. However, he still repeated his answer. The atmosphere seemed somewhat off. Just when the others felt that something bad would happen, Deng Yun took a sip of wine to drown his sorrows. Then, he took out a mirror box and placed it on the table. I'm returning it to you. Even without this beast core, I can still break through to wholly venerate. Xiao Chun felt surprised. However, he said calmly, Take it. I already transferred everything about the six-tailed heavenly fox to you. After Tang Dan returns, she will explain to you that this is a fair transaction. A transaction? Deng Yun looked at Xiao Chun with some surprise, not understanding what was going on. Xiao Chun did not explain too much, as Tang Dan had already appeared outside. Come with me. Tang Dan's voice projection rang out in Xiao Chen's ears. Then, he put down his wine cup and left. Only the stunned crowd remained. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Tang Dan led Xiao Chun around the city for a long time. Finally, they stopped in a desolate alley. My clan has some power and accumulations in the Divine Dragon Empire. Hence, I know some channels to secretly buy and sell information or fake identities. Tang Dan looked at Xiao Chun and said, I already used my clan's connections to create an identity for you. 30 years ago, there was an average-sized Shao clan in the north that got exterminated by underground demons. Right now, you are the sole descendant of that Shao clan that escaped. This is your clan's jade pendant. Keep it well. Xiao Chun accepted the jade pendant. He somewhat admired Tang Dan's efficiency. It looked like the clan behind her was not simple. The jade pendant is real. This is the information on that Shao clan. You can take a look. Many thanks. With this identity, it would be much more convenient for Xiao Chun to do things in the future. If he wanted to become an inner sect disciple, he would have to stand out and attract attention. It was too difficult not to be investigated. If they found some clues, it would be impossible for them to escape. If something happened and he could not enter Ancestor Dragon City, Xiao Chun would have come for nothing. You are too polite. However, I can tell that you are very confident. You seem to think that you will definitely stand out in the Heaven Dragon Palace and obtain the qualifications to enter the inner sect. However, I have to remind you not to be careless. Deng Yun and I are just barely at the bottom of the Heaven Dragon Palace. We are not that strong. Xiao Chun felt slightly surprised. He had been about to leave, but he stopped and asked, What do you mean? Tang Dan gave Xiao Chun a deep look. Then, she continued, Above the inner sect disciples are the core disciples. Those who can become core disciples are all holy venerates. Furthermore, this is not the strongest in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Above the core disciples are the even stronger Heaven class core disciples. The Heaven Dragon Palace is not as weak as you think. For it to be an independent palace that rivals a peak rank 6 sect and has been passed down for tens of thousands of years, it naturally has its accumulations and terrifying aspects. Even if it is just a mixed blood dragon bloodline, with the competition and the many layers of selection, those who can reach the top will not be weak. The Empire has more than 1,000 counties. Among the mixed blood dragon bloodlines, there is no lack of large clans with Heaven Dragon bloodlines. The resources those people obtained from young might not be any less than those with true dragon bloodlines or divine dragon bloodlines. However, due to their bloodlines, they cannot go to the other palaces and can only choose the Heaven Dragon Palace. So take care. Xiao Chun thought for a long time. If not for Tang Dan's words, he would indeed have been careless. After all, that Jiang, he was also a mixed blood dragon. Many thanks for the reminder. It looks like I did not lose out in this transaction. Goodbye. Xiao Chun performed a cupped fist salute and smiled faintly before turning to leave. When Tang Dan returned to the inn, her junior brothers and sisters surrounded her, asking her about the transaction. Tang Dan felt somewhat helpless. After a long time, she said, "Don't ask too much. This person is different from us." After returning to the Heaven Dragon Palace, don't say that you met this person. Something major will happen to him. It is best to avoid interacting with him. Tang Dan's words completely shocked this group of people, finding it somewhat inconceivable. While they drank and chatted with Xiao Chun, they did not sense anything different about Xiao Chun. Only Deng Yun recalled that night when Xiao Chun suddenly opened his eyes, causing his soul to tremble. He felt that Tang Dan's words were probably true. This Xiao Chun was indeed different from them.